then I'm gonna hit them with this shit. They don't lie, they don't lie, then I'm gonna read your mind tonight. Born on this planet full of hate, inherited from our harshest past, embedded in our society's identity. But then again, can you tell me that's free? They explain to you what your mind should perceive, suggest things they want you to believe, like your skin color dictates your race. They're calling you an idiot to your face, like life is much more simple than that. We're all slaves and the cards are stacked, while we fight over problems we can fix. Industrialists turn our kids to addicts. The television does a job, introduce you. The radio's right there to seduce you, keep you locked on the wrong damn track. Cigarettes is just legalized crack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. What? Stop believing in the flag, it's a trap. Cause men rule this world, that's a fact. They don't know, they don't know, but I'm gonna make it right tonight. They don't lie, they don't lie, but I'm gonna say it like I know. They don't know, they don't know, then I'm gonna hit them with this shit. They don't lie, they don't lie, then you're gonna free your mind tonight, 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 tonight. That you're gonna free your mind tonight, 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 tonight. That you're gonna free your mind tonight, 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 tonight. That you're gonna free your mind tonight, 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 tonight. If you see a man that needs help, then help a brother. If you see a sister on her own, still love her. Cause life is about how you choose to see it. But you gotta teach people how to learn to see it. The planet's been through suffering many times. We propagate many wars many times. The people need to wake up and stop accepting deceit from their own government's deception. You can't blame the people for needing protection from the government's bad reputation. We need to sing a song called Free the Nation, cause we done had a whole lot of separation. Racism, classism, nationalism, based on keeping people out on the plantation. That's the plan, no doubt, cause rich people got a plan, no doubt. If you still don't understand and believe that we are all one from the same mother, and respect each woman and man with the same consideration you would like to be given on a daily, then you need to retire so the new generation can take over and show you how to live and govern this place we call Earth home.
Everybody here, yeah.
They don't know, kid. They don't know, they don't know, but I'm gonna make it right tonight. They don't lie, they don't lie, but I'm gonna say it like I know. They don't know, they don't know, that I'm gonna hit them with this shit. They don't lie, they don't lie. Scratching, working, struggling, hoping Some is hustling, every man hustling. Stay alive, that's the game. It don't matter if another gets slain. Pain, recession, other cats want a war, we got the weapon. People want bombs, so they gon' get them. This is the rhythm, the politics ticking. It's sad how we living in this life. It's gonna be a time that we change. Shit is not finite, life is the same. Motherfuckers killing each other to make a claim. Stop that bullshit, you have no respect for each other. You know the truth, you come from your mother, your sister, your brother. So love one another. If we make that change, the whole world will do the same. So listen.
Oh, it is wonder. Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? No, no, no.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah, I wish someone would tell me when is the suffering gonna stop. I see time ticking, fuck your watch. There comes a time when man steps to the plate, but it won't matter if your mentality is fake. Where I'm from, we got a system, overcrowded prisons, 2 cents an hour, man. Listen, shit don't change if we keep exploiting each other. One day you find out you only did it to your brother. A homeless mother, a baby, no supper. She got a husband and father, they both love her, but they can't find work cause the people with the power, they got a strange way to govern. Their price tag say nothing. Life is funny, then again it's really not. People dying for what other people got. I asked God if he can come and change the shit. He said, hell no, it's you that's gotta change this.
Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? One.
Check 1 2 1 2.
We all is.
Check, 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 check. Alright.
We all is.
It is Monday the 6th July, 08:53 Central European Time. That's where I'm at, straight out of Copenhagen, Denmark. Born and raised in Washington, D.C. American living overseas. It is 02:53 Eastern Standard Time, America. What's up, everybody? Canada, U.S., Central America, South America, depending on where you are, the time may be different. But I appreciate everybody for coming out. What's up, Africa? Big up to Africa. Got some things going on in Africa, huh? It's always plus and minus. Who knows how it's going to turn out, but I wish everybody the best there. Those that are striving for equality and upliftment, progression, freedom. You know, and democracy is a good thing too when everybody has a say in this society, right? But let's not make it toxic. You know what I mean? We in this together, or we just going to be around to tear each other apart so somebody else can get it. You know, so you got to figure out which one is going to be. Also, Asia, Middle East, big up to you. Same conflict, it's not same conflict, same struggle, basically. Same struggle everywhere, you know. There will be those that divide people. And they're very clever, by the way, you know, because they pretend like they don't know what they're doing and shit. Oops, I did it again. Oops, sorry about that. I didn't know that's how it would look. Did I elect the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein? Oops, sorry. He looked like a nice guy. Jeffrey Epstein looked like a nice guy too, kind of a down-home fellow, but you know, I don't like how Obama looks. Hey, In any case, or she can't be president. Women are too emotional. She doesn't act like she can handle it, you know? She might break down. She might have an emotional breakdown if she gets elected. Hey, in the middle of a nuclear war, would you want a woman to have an emotional breakdown? Don't let the gay man push the button, okay? Is Obama gay? He's married. Is Michelle Obama a man? I don't know. Still got to have important conversations about this. You know, every other conversation is more important than your goddamn tax dollars and you getting some out of it, being the most unrepresented people in parliamentary Western history and shit. Nah, I want to talk about the man in a dress. Fuck my taxes. Fuck the fact that I have less parliamentary representation than all other Western people on earth. Fuck that. I want to talk about the guy I saw walking into the ladies' bathroom in a dress. Not the dude without a dress walking in the ladies' bathroom. But the dude with the dress walking in the ladies' bathroom. I want to talk about that one. You know what I'm saying? Fuck the fact that everybody else in the West gets 60% of the taxes they pay actually go to something that affects their lives directly. And in the United States, at best, 45%. No. No need to talk about that. No need to talk about. I want to know, is Kamala Harris's great grandfather a slave master in Jamaica? That's more important to me. By the way, get rid of them all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Thus is the world. Thus is politics. That's his politics. By the way, if you know anything about jazz, my thoughts would be, if you want to promote it, please don't put anything that remotely looks like blackface on your poster and then say, here you go, I didn't know. Surprise. You ever heard of Step and Fetch It? You know what I'm saying? That's a popular dance. You know what I'm saying? Had no idea. Sorry. Haven't been on Earth for the last 100 years. Wouldn't know how shit changes. You know what I'm saying? In any case, big up. Click the like button, please, people, while we get in here. I can see the likes aren't even up. We got loads of people watching. Come on, let's get the likes up, please. It helps more people like you find the stream. People that are interested like you. It helps more folks that think like you. How'd you find this place? Why are you here? Yeah, there's more of you out there. So let's get to doing that business. But by the way, in case you don't know, this stream is titled something very real, and that is Nixon. He was the one who gave the executive order for the first national rent strike, the second national rent strike, the biggest, maybe the biggest in the history of the country, if not the biggest, the second biggest the country has ever known. Yes, Nixon, President Nixon, the Republican, the one that J.D. Vance likened to Trump, how people treated him unjustly. It's funny how Legacy Media didn't say, oh, yeah, but didn't Nixon institute through an executive order the nation's largest rent strike or second largest rent strike in history? Funny how Legacy Media didn't hit him with that one. Wow. Got to do your due diligence. Because to me, it sounds like they calling Nixon a communist. Is Nixon a communist? Is he a communist because he instituted the second largest rent strike in the nation's history, a federal rent strike via executive order? Think about the next president could do that. Did you know that? Did you know the next president could do that? And it could be a Republican that does it because they don't call him a communist when he doesn't, when it's a Republican. Only a Democrat or only somebody else is a communist when they want to do something about the rent. You know, what have you done for me lately? That's what I would be thinking if I was a voter and shit like this. What have you done for me lately? Like the Eddie Murphy thing. You know what I'm saying? You got to consider voting like being taken out on a date. You know what I'm saying? And you got to ask the person that's taking you on a date, what have you done for me lately? You know what I mean? Like, you know, ain't nothing going on but the rent here, motherfucker. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. Shit, everybody needs to be like ladies in the 80s and shit. Ain't nothing going on here but the rent, motherfucker. Okay, so seriously, I mean, did you know Nixon? He was cool with it. Nixon was down with rent strikes and shit. He was so down with it. He was like, fuck it. Executive order. Everybody. Let's have a rent strike party, y'all. And he did it. And people were like, yeah, motherfucker, you better done it because we're about to rip your ass to shreds. And thus is politics. Whatever happened to those good old days? Whatever happened to those good old days? You know, let's make America great again and bring it back to that time where they got Nixon to do a rent strike or people were going to wring his neck. How about that? You know, I feel sorry for the next person that becomes president because people are going to wring that person's neck. Why? Because there's so many problems in the USA right now. You better be on your job. Because if you are not on your job, you will be the president that goes down, that takes the hit this time. I'm telling you. And presidents in the past have taken hits. You know what I'm saying? Kennedy took a hit. What? Civil rights movement. How dare you? How dare you want people drinking out of the same water fountain? They're not all fully human. How dare you? Right? So, I mean, under the guise of that, you don't know. See, this civil strife, you never know if somebody slipped underneath that and was like, and Russia was like, fuck it, we'll do it for you. You don't know. All of this strife, that's why you don't want strife. You know, you want presidents that are going to respect people, bring people together so that no foreign country can come slip under the radar and do some shit, you know? And you know, but if you don't understand that theory, hey, fuck it. You know, it's on you. It's your life. It's your reality, you know? But my advice is come together based on the needs that people have. Everyone has. If you need water, they need water too. Okay? Why would you deny a family? Why would you deny a poor white family, a middle class, hardworking family, white Americans, clean water just because you don't want the man in the dress having clean water in his home? Why would you do that? That's insane. That doesn't help people. That doesn't help people, but this is America. Americans are thinking this way. I don't want that chick having clean water. So fuck it. Fuck my kids having clean water too. Yeah, really. I don't want that chink having access to education. So fuck my kids access to education. There's less chinks than there are of us. But fuck them so much that I'm going to fuck myself over even worse. It's like, where does that happen? Where does that happen? It happens in places people don't have an education. There's no universal education in the U.S. People can't figure out 1 + 1 = 2. They can't figure that shit out, bro. They can't figure it out. They're like, if I take away his fresh water, it's going to take away my fresh water too. I never thought of that one. Yeah, that's right. That's how it works. It works that way. So, you know, no, everybody's in this together. Out of many are made one. You know what I mean? And you are in this together, whether you like it or not. And when you don't like it, by the way, when you don't like it, it has a certain kind of ring. You know what I mean? That's the thing about it. It's very special when you don't like it because it looks a certain kind of way. And let's take a look at how it looks. It looks like this. Landing. Maggot on deck, y'all. Pay attention. Maggot coming in. Maggot landing, y'all. Make space. Maggot landing. This is what you call anti-DEI landing. This is an anti-DEI landing. After they got rid of all the minorities, all the queers, all the women and shit, straighten people up. We only need the strong ones out there. Get your muscle. Blah, blah, blah. This is what you call a headset landing. Here it is. Happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July, y'all. Welcome to America. The best of America. The best of America. We just want to display the best of America here. Anti-DEI. No DEI. No DEI. Get rid of them. Anyone that happens to be in the Air Force, pay attention. This is what anti-DEI looks like when your ass is jumping out of a fucking plane, okay? Straight men do it better. Straight white males do it better in America. Yeah. Well, for some reason, shit just keeps going wrong under these motherfuckers' rule. Stages are falling. I don't know how many things you saw. That goddamn stage that the performers were on. Even I heard punk ass Snoop Dogg had the nerve to go down there. One thing about me is I never, I considered it a little, maybe I dabbled a tiny bit, but I'm not the type of rapper that can say 95% of my portfolio is jigaboo shit. Okay, but you had some people out there on that stage. Snoop Dogg, watch your ass, man. That could have been you. That could have been a Michael Jackson moment. That could have been that shit that fell on those dancers. That could have been your ass. The stage, the light, whatever it was. I don't know if it's the smoke or the lighting system or something. The roof of the stage just fell. Like, they can't get shit right. He goes, and don't lie, this is anti-DEI America. This is poetry. I'm surprised he didn't have fuck DEI on the goddamn parachute written out there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's exactly what he was thinking. He was like this. Hey, everybody, fuck DEI. Look at me. Who's the dude saying, oh my God. Oh my God. Should I slow this shit down? Yo. Why? I need to be able to slow this shit down so you can really hear the effects of it. Oh my God! Land of the free, home of the brave. No more men in dresses in toilets. What if there's a nuclear war? We can't have a woman pressing that button. She might break down and go into a hysterical fit. That didn't sound like a woman screaming, saying, oh my God. That sounded like a fucking dude. Oh my God. Like, what the? This is going to be on fucking South Park, dude. This is going to be on South Park. They're going to have an invasion. They're going to have a mock invasion and shit in South Park where they jumping out. The Marines are jumping out and shit. And they all land like this. Oh my God. Oh. This is what you call a anti-communist landing, an anti-socialist landing, yo. This is a pure capitalistic landing. Yeah. Only a capitalist can land like this. Fuck socialism. Us capitalists do it better. Kamala Harris wants to turn America into a communist state, but we won't let her. Anyway, I mean, this is the world for you. I mean, you know, this is when it doesn't affect you. Thank you. Thank you for not landing on somebody's neighborhood that hates your ass for a change. You know, that's kind of interesting. Get them all together in one place and just boom. That would be great. Get them all together and just have this accidents happen all over the fucking place, you know, which they will do. They will do this to each other. They mainly, sure, they affect other people, but they mainly affect themselves. These people largely come from the poorest states in the United States of America. They are largely welfare states. They get money from blue states, excess federal tax dollars that are collected from blue states, right, gets distributed. A portion of that, because the blue states, you know, they get an allotment, even if they create and generate more federal dollars, whatever that excess is goes to a state that is in the minus. And those are usually red states. And these people don't want universal education. They don't think their kids need it. They don't think, and you know who else they don't think needs it? They don't think their fucking parachute, but their parachute folks need any extra training. They don't. He could have used one extra day in parachute school. You know what I'm saying? Taxpayer funded parachute school, but not available. It had to be all capitalistic and private. You know what I'm saying? Like, can't be paying for his parachute school. Why should I pay for his parachute school when I don't want that? He need to learn how to make his own parachute, how to go to school by himself, earn his own money. I mean, this is how these people think, and it is leading to somewhere. It's leading to somewhere, but it's not all funny. Some of them have more, you know. See, these lower class ones, these middle class worker red people, these middle class worker goddamn maggots. They're more like just petty disturbances, right? But where it really is troubling, and which is where we have to focus on the most, you know what I'm saying? Is where we have to focus on the most is the wicked ones behind them, the real deceivers, the ones that use them like petty pawns. Like what we're seeing here on the screen, this is just a pawn. This is a nobody. Look. This happens to nobodies every goddamn day of the week. They going out like flies and shit all over the U.S. Oh my God. Boom. Just falling out all over because of their own policies, because of their own thinking. Right. But the other ones, they're more serious. So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the
robots and the economy. And I want to give you the latest. First, this is the CEO of Figure AI. It's a robot company, and he's got this video out today. It says, Happy Independence Day, American flag. And he's got his robot waving an American flag. You can see it right there. And I'm starting with this today because, one, it's just really an image that stuck out to me. Like, okay, is that the future that I want, where all these robots are waving flags and I guess sort of cheering us on to go to the future? And what is the future? The future is the robots replacing you. That's essentially what their goal is here. And this company, Figure AI, they got in bed with the Trumps. It says, meet Figure AI, the company behind the humanoid robot hosted by Melania Trump, right? We talked about this before. Basically, they had this like education.
And like I said, they are coming to replace. They're going to replace. Listen, because the red states have really, their representatives are all coons and sellouts to America, right? To Elon Musk and to these wealthy people. This is the testing ground. It's really good. There won't be any state laws, any state representatives fighting the, you know, people being replaced at their job. Look, you already know where they got the testing going on. Where's the testing going on? Where's the testing going on for trucks, for AI trucks, 18 wheelers? Where's the testing going to be done? Think about this. Where's it going to be? It's going to be the places that have less state pushback. That's where it's going to be, because they affect jobs. They affect people's lives. And here it is. They're introducing it. I mean, who introduces a robot? Do you think Melania Trump gives a fuck about these people? Do you think she gives a fuck about one goddamn, Republican, middle class or poor American Republican? Do you think she does? Because there's a chance she hates you. Why? Because let's be honest, Americans can be obnoxious at times. You know what I'm saying? Especially from these red fucking states. There is no way in hell these people like her. I'm telling you, there's no way. They may put up with her like they put up with a lot of shit because Trump says the magic words. But deep down inside, man, no. You can't. It is very difficult for anyone to get into that group unless they are pure bigots. Now, maybe she is a pure bigot, but she's around some libertarians, right? They're not Republicans, really. They use Republicans, but these libertarians are in it for this. More money, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, serious. They're there to be part of the great the sell-off of America, right? And this is what it looks like. Why do you need this? What is this? Who is this? What's this going to do for your broke ass? You think this robot is here to help your broke ass? What do you think? You think it's going to sit there and build you a house? How long is it going to take one of these fucking robots? Do you know how much one of these costs? What you're going to get installed an electric charger in your home first to that. You got to have money to do that too. They don't even want to give you a tax deduction for that shit. You know what I'm saying? But in any case, even if you had a tax deduction for something, what the fuck? You can barely even afford an electric car. Where are the tax deductions? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is bizarre, but this is what they got rolled out, and it gets worse. Watch, it gets worse. Check it out.
Education Summit thing, and Melania and the robot march out. And
the future of AI is personified. It will be formed in the shape of humans. Very soon, artificial intelligence will move from our mobile phones to humanoids that deliver utility. Since our environment is designed for people, humanoid systems are uniquely suited to navigate and operate within our world. They fit well. Imagine a humanoid educator named Plato, access to the classical studies.
In children's education, again, they want to replace teachers and whatnot, suggesting that robots could one day act as interactive.
This is crazy. This is crazy. And so who do you think? This is just so bizarre. This is so bizarre. So you're going to have robots. Where do you think these robot teachers are going to be overwhelmingly? Where do you think they're going to be? What states do you think they're going to be? Who do you think they're going to be? Where do you think they're going to? They're going to be in prisons, number one, right? Well, let's start off with prisons. First, they're going to be in prisons. So you're going to have robot teachers, right? Then what else are you going to have? Yo. I mean, this can go a lot of ways, but the problem is that this one robot is just an example of the robots. This is the example of the robot helper. Why aren't you showing you the robot eliminator? Why aren't they showing you that one yet? See, they're going to roll this robot helper out to get you to sign a fucking bill. And then they're going to be like, oops, we didn't tell you. We have robot eliminators too. I'm just telling you, this can go sideways in a lot of fucking ways. And the mere fact that they're showing you that they can't even figure out in the wealthiest country on earth, if all Americans, the place that's going to introduce robot teachers, the place that's going to do, really where they have AI before they even know how they're going to safely implement it. This is the place that's telling you they can't figure out how to make healthcare effective and cheaper like other Western countries. And the same place that can't do, they got all that other shit going on, is the place that's going to introduce robots now. Okay.
Educators at home, so we can even homeschool your kids with the robot. Fantastic. And this is
Denmark.
the growth.
Whoa, Patrick, what's up, man? Morning, Hobiak. Yeah. Self-destruction in human culture because we can do. Yeah, bro. Straight up. What's up, Hobiak? That's Alice Salmon. Yeah, got. Tusen
All the time. The Trump people, when they say, "Hey, we're going to have economic growth," it's sort of promoting this kind of stuff.
Men, solen skinner i dag, det Magva.
It's crazy, right? So basically, take your job. That's how they say that we're all going to grow. From Bessent, Treasury Secretary, he says, under President Trump's leadership, we are on the path toward unprecedented growth, right? Never seen this before. Lasting dollar dominance and fiscal strength and stability, according to them. And again, it's grow the AI industry, take your job away. And then how's that going to be strength and stability?
In 5 years, we'll have probably, so 5 years being, say, 2031, I think digital intelligence will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. That there will be, in 5 years,
I think people better listen to this again because, of course, he's not concerned about you. This means you're a slave. You got to understand that. When you bring something in and there's people saying it's more intelligent than you, what do you think they said to the slaves? What do you think they set up about the slaves? You weren't smart enough. You weren't educated enough. You weren't from the upper class. You don't have it in your blood. Your genetics are different, or your training generation after generation has been different. You are not of the elite. And then he says something like this.
I think digital intelligence will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. That there will be, in 5 years.
Notice that timeline, 5 years. So they already have a plan. 5 years. And now this is their new method, their new talking point. Just give us one more term. Just give JD Vance one more term. Just give goddamn, what's the guy's name? I hate his name too, by the way. And I'm sorry, I love Cubans, but I hate fucking Marco Rubio. He's a sellout. You know, no space for to remember his ass in history. We need to throw him in the toilet and just get rid of him. But Marco Rubio, these people, they're there to beg, to give you an option to beg for just that amount of time, for whatever it is they have coming for you. And everybody in the world is watching. And likely, because nobody else is stupid, likely this extermination is going to start with American citizens. Likely. Whatever problem Americans there are, their removal is likely going to come with robots, AI, and this concept, because they're selling it all at the same time. You're a communist, you're a socialist, you're the problem with America, scum, rats from different countries, wetbacks, Hispanics, blacks, everybody else. And then notice the message that they're giving to Europeans, people of European descent. They're basically talking down to Europeans, saying that you're not doing enough ethnic cleaning yourself and you will lose your society if you don't step it up. You got too many Muslims, you got too many blackies, you got too many gays, and you're trying to fucking have, gender change. This is what they're saying. Gender assignment, change. This is what they're saying. This is the message of Elon Musk. Essentially, if you put all the wordings together, and it comes with robots, and now they're telling you that they're just going to surpass your intelligence. No, motherfucker. They might surpass your ability to store information, but ability to store information is not the same thing. You will never, let me tell you something. Human beings are supposed to be in a human being situation, right? The moment they introduce these robots, it's not going to turn out that way. It's not going to turn out that way. It's not going to turn out to be positive. It's going to turn out to be a new experiment on Earth where human beings are no longer going to be necessary. Some human beings will be necessary because the robots will be controlled by some human beings. The other people that are deemed unnecessary, you're going to have a big goddamn problem. And anybody that disagrees with these people, you're going to have a big goddamn problem, And so I really hope everybody focuses on this issue right now and makes sure that there's no way that these people stay in power in the United States. They are dangerous. They're dangerous. They're dangerous. And you see what they've already done to American citizens. It's one thing to want to preserve your country. Everybody wants to preserve their country. Everybody wants comprehensive immigration reform. Everybody wants that. But keep in mind, there's so many other issues that just can't that just can't go without being dealt with. First of all, these people look down on the women's rights movement. They look down on the women's rights movement of the West. You have to understand that. Like, they literally don't think you have a place unless it is under a man. Like, people got to think about this shit right now. Right now. This has consequences for everyone. And I'm not trying to say there's not other issues and there's not other problems. Yeah, there are. But this man uses ketamine. This man uses fucking dope and then comes out and tells you what his dreams are, what his sensations are all about. What triggers his feel good mechanism. This man does that. You're not dealing with a safe human being. You're not dealing with a healthy, mentally stable human being here. So just keep that in mind, that this is whose invention it is. This is the plan you're hearing from this dude, the ketamine man.
Probably there might be let's say at least 100 million humanoid robots, but maybe a billion. Yeah. There will be in
I'm going to bring that back. Yo, let me read some of the comments too here real quick. Check this out. Do me a favor. Everybody click the like button. If you don't mind, click the like button. It's so important because you're here. That means whatever you're thinking, it doesn't matter. You're here because there's something of interest to you. There's more people like you out there. Click the like button so those more people, even if you disagree with me, let those people find out so they can come and have a chance to disagree. If you agree, if you understand, if you like, or you identify with some of these things, click the like button so more people like you can find out what's going on. Let me see. Patrick says, Tusen Tak. Yeah. Devasilit. The biggest concern is the inevitable weaponization and military functionality of humanoids. I wonder when the release of racist programmed humanoids will arrive. I mean, I understand exactly what you mean, because again, we are the ones programming this, and there's no way in hell they're programming this to just be, they don't want to be subservient to the robot. It's all about who controls the master key to the robot. That is a concern. And but think about this. Think about the implications of this. Look, scientists, human scientists, notice how they're not talking about what this could do for the healthcare sector. Notice how they're not talking about, he's talking about the macro, like taking over. It shows you a lot where his mind is concerned. His mind is focused on being the master of everybody, the macro, right? It's not focused on little areas, specific things. Like he sees the robot. Okay, we see that. Yeah, there's a robot now. It's going to take our job. So obviously he's not really concerned about how a robot can help people, because obviously it's too fucking expensive to help somebody. It's going to take your job. It's going to take your job. It's going to take more jobs. And then on top of it, he's not talking about how it's going to be used. The technology is going to be used to make healthcare cheaper, more accessible, right? He's not talking about that. So in some way, technology is good as long as it's for the benefit of human beings. But here's the thing. When you look at the DNA studies of like 2000, the 80s, 1980s, they were very, very They were very basic, right? Today, they're not basic anymore. They can see the human genome back tens of thousands of years now. You know what I mean? And more, they can go that far back now. So they know the true story of humankind. They know that. They know that race is not really a thing anymore. They know that. They know it, right? They know that we are no really different from each other. What's there is color, right? And that you never know what that is, because a person could have the same color, but what's beneath can be something that you don't expect. It doesn't always come out, these differences on the front side, right? So what they want to explain is that what they want to explain is just what they want to use the robots for. They don't want to explain that, hey, human beings need to come together. They don't want to use the technology for that. They don't want to use the technology to say this senseless fighting, this fighting human beings does is senseless. They don't want to do it for that. They don't want to use it for that. You see what I mean? Like, I'll give you an example. Trump, we have AI, right? Trump goes out and he calls Kamala Harris a communist. He calls Zoran Mamdani a communist. Why did he call them a communist? Because they talked about the price of rent. They talked about the price of inflation, the cost of inflation, right? Mamdani did a rent freeze. So, they're always calling these things communism. But when I went in and used AI to do a search, I found out that Nixon, he's the one who who created through an executive order the Republican president, the right-wing libertarian Republican president, is the one who actually implemented the second largest rent freeze nationwide. And it wasn't just a rent freeze. It was a freeze on salaries, like to make sure your salary couldn't get lowered. It was a freeze on the cost of goods. Like, it was a huge freeze. It wasn't just a rent strike freeze. You see what I'm saying? So you could use it for good, but these people aren't worried about that. They're worried about control. And that should be a scary thing for people. The fact that he's willing to, that is what's going on in his brain. It's control. So they're going to use it for bad. It doesn't matter what kind of thing. This guy, if he is there, you cannot let unethical people near the government apparatus. This is a pure lesson of corruption. This is not a lesson of AI. This is not a lesson of technology. We didn't need Elon Musk. Technology was going to advance any fucking way. This is the lesson about goddamn corruption and what happens when technology gets in corruptive hands. It's no different than the same thing we claim we have with Iran. We don't want them to have a nuclear bomb. We don't want them to have a nuclear bomb. Bomb them, because we don't want them to have a nuclear bomb. We don't want them to have one nuclear bomb. We don't even want them to have the means to even get close to even making one. Bomb them. This is the same thing. Do you want him, a goddamn dope head, a person that gets fixated, feels good when he does drugs and has dreams of grandeur? Do you want him, a dude that puts up a Nazi sign? Is that the one you want near the fucking nuclear bomb? Is this the one you want near? Because the technology was going to exist anyway. Is this what you have to offer? Is this where you're going? Okay.
We'll have probably, so 5 years being, say, 2031. I think digital intelligence will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. That there will be, in 5 years, probably, there might be let's say at least 100 million humanoid robots, but maybe a billion. Yeah.
Look at that. And they're just like, wow, that's a great idea. 1 billion robots. He's not even going to tell you what kind of robots he means. You know what I'm saying? Because he's really not. They already gave you an idea of what they're talking about. They're talking about the humanoid looking robots, the ones walking around and, yeah. And then they also, of course, they have a plan. They have it built in. See, you have to be able to sell a story. So the excuse for the 1 billion robots is because they already have it crafted, is that they're saying they're going to send them out into space. and they have a time scale with the space plan too, right? So they have this project they're selling to you. They want you to buy into it. It's 5 more years. They need more of your taxpayer dollars, right? They need you to understand that your future is invested in him and him only. If he is not in top, if this plan that he crafted for him and his cronies, if you are not behind this, the world will not move forward. The United States will not exist anymore, and the Western world won't exist anymore ever again. It's all over for everybody in the West. That's what they're selling. Okay.
All right.
Yo, I'm actually waiting for Friars. Yo, is Friars? Let me invite Friars. Let me see who else is here. Let me invite who's you here already? Yo, Michael from Brooklyn, you here? I was just about to invite you too, man. I see you already here, so it wouldn't let me invite you. All right, well, Mike from Brooklyn is here. I just invited Friars. I want to see what he also has to say about this, because Friars has more of a military background, and because he's a vet now. Yeah, in a second, let's hear some commentary on this. This is, I'm sure Mike from Brooklyn is pulling up preparing a few things, but this is what Elon Musk is talking about. And of course, he needs more of your tax dollars than any human being ever had to give anybody to do anything ever in the history of fucking Earth. You know what I mean? So it's like selling you a pipe dream. You either go for the pipe dream or you're dead. You either make me rich and powerful, more richer and powerful than anyone else on Earth, or you're dead. It's a pure pimp hand. It's a pimp slap. It's gaslighting. It's what pimps do to sex trafficking victims. Yo, you there, Mike? Yeah, I hear you. You there? Oh, hold on. Let me see who this is. Oh, he just got cut off. Hold on. Let me invite him back. He just got cut out. I see. There we go. Yeah, Michael from Brooklyn is about to be up. So here, let's play a little more of this.
Let me I will predict that the economy is probably twice its current size in 5, maybe 6 years. 5 to 7 years, because you're going to hit a doubling period. Where the economic output is increasing so fast that plus minus a few years, you will see giant changes.
So that was Elon Musk, the supposed richest, supposed smartest dude in the whole world, saying, "Hey guys, we should, I guess celebrate the economy's going to double." What was he saying? 1 billion robots? Wow, they're all coming.
Right. So how'd it go for SpaceX? I mean, anyone who even bothered to look at the small, not even the detail, but just the map, the general map of SpaceX, guessed that it was going to flop. It was built to flop. It's that simple. The only reason why it was allowed to go on the market is because the regulations were lifted by the Trump administration. It was doomed from the beginning. And yes, people that bought into that, if you weren't the people that bought in the earliest, all you did was lose your fucking money. That's all you did. Tell me what day you bought into SpaceX when it went public. Was it the first day? Was it the second day? Was it the third day? Because if that shit was the fourth goddamn day or third or fourth day, man, first of all, you ain't make that much. Because if you here in the chat, if you want to make if you want to make millions off of, or 100,000 or 200,000 or $1 million off of 20%, how much do you have to buy of it? First of all. So the further you buy in 2 and 3 days after, shit, how much money did you put in to even make a coin in the first place? Don't be lying to my ass. If you invested in the third fucking and fourth day, you in my chat, you are a motherfucking liar. Either that or you just got some pennies out of your deal. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit crashed. Okay. And the only people that made money on that are the people that already had the major amount of stock from day one before it went public. The people that bought in on day one when it went public and put in some money, or day two. After that, sorry. No, the math ain't mathing. And I feel sorry if you did it. And I guarantee you, if you in my chat, if you're in this chat, show me. Where's your goddamn stock? Put it up on your YouTube thing. Show us. Show people something. Show people something, because the math says otherwise.
And it's all nonsense. I mean, you should be able to figure this out. But the sad thing, though, is that people can't figure it out. They fall for this entire scam, and the Trumps fall for it, right? And all the black people fall for it, and they get upset when I show them what it is. But anyone should be able to tell from us the way that he speaks about this stuff. He's just like pulling stuff out of his K-hole, effectively. And this is also going on right now. A lot of companies are jumping in on this, AI is the future bro stuff. This is from Weave Robotics. Hires a person to do that. If you're going to go into the robot mode, basically, literally, you're taking away jobs of housekeepers and such. And so this is essentially the future that the bros are pushing.
Do you know how goddamn long? I'm sorry, but of course, if you're a millionaire, if you're multi-millionaire, no problem. You're going to buy one of these, have it in your house, whatever. Okay, great. I understand that. You might do that. You know what I mean? But how is this going to help the middle class and the poor? How's this going to help the middle class and the poor? I mean, what is going on here? What's going on? No. If we're going to have this kind of shit, let's get back to healthcare, right? Making healthcare affordable. But do they even have a way to make it affordable yet? You see what I'm saying? Like, so they do have a way, but is that what they're focused on doing? No, they're not focused on doing that. Not in the United States. Maybe somewhere else, but not in the United States. The United States has 350 million people, has the largest economy right now. Europe is number 2. Has 4, but it has more people. It has 4, so it has more manpower. 450 million people. It has second largest economy. It's only rivaled by China, which has 1 billion people. Right. So think about China. How's this going to create jobs in China? This going to create jobs in China? Like, what's that about? You see what I'm saying? So why? Because they might make them cheaper. If you can argue that, they might make them cheaper, right? But per person, they have less money than a European or American. American might have more money circulating, but they keep $1,000 less than the average European after paying their expenses and their taxes. That's how the data adds up. You see what I mean? So I'm speaking from a Westerner's perspective, obviously, and I'm sure people are having this conversation in different languages all over the world, which they should, from different perspectives. Obviously, that's warranted because we can learn from each other, right? But as an American, right, I don't see how this is helping Americans at all. I don't see it at all. To me, it looks like just showing off. I have a lot of money. If you, it's more elitist than anything else. I'm just being honest. And everybody can't be a part of the elite. Everybody can't be. It's just that way. I'm showing you guys
what it is. Again, this just came out, and I'll be curious when this thing comes out, like how many orders they actually get. And then I guess it goes back into its charging spot. If you're curious on the cost, because this is discussion of how widespread is this going to be, $449 a month subscription. Okay, comes in green, gray, blue, terracotta, Vesper is what they call it. And it's funny because I was looking at this thing. If I were to get this one, I'd probably go more, maybe the blue or the green. I think that's just my opinion. I'd like to hear yours. And then I guess if you want to pay for it up front, it's basically $8,000. And then they say optional $99 a month premium membership, so $8,000. Does that make sense economically for?
Right, $8,000. Okay, well let's see what else he's got here. Who else is got some commentary about this?
And the plot lines of those.
So, we've got lots of companies that are building robots now. Famously in the U.S., we've got obviously Tesla with Optimus, we have Figure, we have 1X, and in China, probably the robot company that's got the most sort of publicity has been Unitree. We had one of the founders of Unitree on stage with us at the Abundance Summit. I want to play their latest video. It's got 11 million views, and this is a glance at the R1.
Do me a favor. Let's ask some real human questions, right? Because everybody can't be a robot, and everybody can't be robot rich. So let me ask you a question. What is the salary range you hold on? Matter of fact, I'm gonna put the poll up. I just want people. Of course, there's going to be some lying asses, and there's always going to be trolls in the chat that don't get anything. You know, oh, I don't understand it, man. This is just, oh. You spend all your time here and you think it's dumb. Okay, well, let me see here. Do you? Let me see something. I know what to do. Okay, now let me see something here. Let me say, and it's anonymous, right? I don't know how many options I could give. And we talking about individuals, right? Okay. 1,000. Okay. Now here. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Now, just, you know, it's anonymous. No one's going to be able to see how much you earn, but it's just to get an idea. I want people in the chat to use this poll. The question is, how much do you earn a year? Nobody's going to know what you press. No one's going to know. No one's going to know. And of course, put the one that's closest to you. It may not be exact, right? No one's going to know. Right. So if you're rich, if you make above, let's say 250,000, I won't know who you are. Right. And even though 250,000 is not a lot, that's not $1 million, obviously. So you should be concerned about your neighbors, too. Right. But anyway, let's go on.
Which is incredibly selling for $4,900. I mean, this is the price of a cheap used car. Which is saying a lot. So let's take a look at the R1. So, I mean, it's crazy.
Now, these kind of things, always be aware, like, could it actually operate on its own? Is it, remote control, this kind of stuff? And then whatever the Americans come out with, there's going to be.
I mean, all you got to do is put some knives in this goddamn thing's hands, or some fucking guns on his hands and feet, and he's a killer. I mean, really. And I'm telling you, if you think they're showing you all the robots, nope, because some of it is definitely top secret. And the bottom line is that you are not going to get reports on this, especially right now, because the U.S. Congress is not functioning. It's not functioning. They're being treated like some hoes, basically. How a pimp treats hoes. Being told to shut the fuck up and you better get out there and get me my motherfucking money. That's how the Congress is being spoken to right now. And so, but just look at this again.
So, I mean,
you think that thing with a couple of knives can't kill your ass? Like, seriously, I'm serious. Just look at that shit.
Crazy.
So it's very interesting that American citizens volunteered their lives to see how this turns out. Interesting. But it just doesn't. And think about this: $4,900 for a killing machine is not a lot. People pay more for hits. I mean, they pay less too, and maybe in some places. But you can get a lot of mileage out of this one. You know what I'm saying? And what about the secrecy factor? You see, it's just so interesting that you don't have you have this, you live in this world, but at the same time, think about this. This is not Star Trek. This is not like the high functioning future. This is the future where poverty exists around it. So at the same time you have this, you don't have universal health care. At the same time you have this, everyone doesn't have access to education. At the same time, you have this. I mean, think about this. Your education costs more than this robot. What do you think is going to happen here? How accessible is the robot versus how accessible your education is? Think about what the power that puts in somebody's hands that's uneducated. I'm just saying. I didn't say it was a killing machine. What I said is that what's the difference? All you have to do is put a knife in its hands and this thing is a killer. That's what I said. Do you think putting a knife in their hands is a leap in technology? How many people think putting knives in this robot's hands is a leap in technology? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it's a leap in technology. Put a 2 in the chat if you think, no, that's probably already happening. And if not, can be adjusted they could sell that for an extra $200. And if you want, you could get the adjustment hand with a knife. You know what I'm saying? Put a 2 in the chat if you think the adjustment hand with a knife is pretty easy. And put a 1 in the chat if you think it's not, it's I'm sorry. Let me say this over. If you think it's not, did I say this right? Look, somebody said, how do you know? I didn't say I know, but I could guess since, it's not a big leap. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big leap at all. And it just shows me how callous you would be with your own life, because you're willing to bet in this world where you live, where loads of killing goes on anyway, that somehow that wouldn't be happening. Somehow that's not going to happen. Look again. I tell you what's happening. This costs this costs less than your education if you have one.
Now, these kind of things, always be aware, could it actually operate on its own? Is it, remote control, this kind of stuff? And then whatever the Americans come out with, there's going to be...
Somebody said my fear mongering isn't clever. Well, then why are you here? What is it that you like about me? That's interesting. You spend your time with things you don't like? Bruh, go visit a foreign country and stop whining about America. Everybody, if you think that's that there it is right there. This is a fun. No, leave it up, Ralph. Don't delete it. Don't delete these. Sometimes you just gotta leave the dumbass. They told me to leave America, go visit a foreign country. Well, there you have it. There you have it, folks. Somebody in the chat is lost, knows everything, huh? Anyway, let's continue. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing to the person
in this space, and it's going to be driving costs down. So the American one that we were just looking at was at $8,000. This is coming in at $5,000, right? What do we think about these things? This is Unitree. There's no way Elon Musk is going to compete with this stuff, but just want to show you some of the competition out there.
My point is, it's an extremely capable robot.
Not that you care about being wrong, because you will leap to another topic, but I'm an American who lives in a foreign country already, dumbass. And if you took 2 seconds to look at my profile, you would know that. And if you ever listen to one video, you would know that, because I'm constantly saying that, you stupid jackass. Okay, stop being a jackass. You probably voted for Trump. Okay, there you have it.
But the work here is going to be on the software layers, right? You buy this robot. I don't think it does that out of the box, but I think you could probably buy the algorithms that enable you to do that. But I see an explosion in the number of people experimenting with these robots. At $5,000, that's affordable by almost anybody who has a reasonable income. Alex, where does this go for you?
Well, I think the elephant in this particular room, as with Elon demonstrating to the world that you could drive the cost of heavy lift to LEO down to effectively near zero through reusable propulsively landing rockets, the elephant in the room here, I think, is humanoid robots that are able to assemble other humanoid robots. If we take the cost of assembly down to near zero, we're left...
So now...
Right. So this is where they get into the other part of the topic. But look, let me stop. Let me go back to something that's about this chat, something descriptive. Let me put this up here on the screen so people can see how the chat responded here. Let me see here. Boom. Can I get this up? Is it here? Here? Okay, here we go. I can do it here. Now, can y'all see this? Hopefully you can see this. If not, I will adjust it. Here we go. I'll adjust it. There it is. So when the question was asked, how much do you earn a year? And this makes sense, although you can't believe every single, member in the chat. Obviously, it's a lot of people that are just trolls, but, probably 10-20%, you never know, but roughly that, between 10 and 20. But here, 50,000, right? 64% of the people make closer to 50,000. This is not an estimate on, this is an estimate. I mean, this is not exact numbers. So some of the people probably make more than 50,000, right? But they chose 50,000 because that was the closest number a year. 150,000, 12% said 150,000. 8% said 250,000. Again, these are estimates. It could be it could be lower or a little more, right? It's just to get a general view of the chat. Then it's 350,000. So there's 19% of people that said they make 350,000. Now, my point, the reason why I like to ask these questions is because often it helps qualify what the answers are, how people think, what people think is right, what people think is good, right? Often you find out that folks, a minority of people aren't thinking about anybody else. Often that's what you find out. And with libertarians and capitalists, extreme forms of capitalism. That's a libertarian. It's a very extreme form. So it helps qualify more of their answers. You see what I'm saying? Now here, for example, now I'm just going to ask you flat out. And if you make 50,000, don't even worry. It's not a question for you. If you make 250,000 as an individual or more, put a 1 in the chat. If you make 250,000 or more, put 1 in the chat. I'm not concerned about anybody else right now. I just want to see who makes more than that. Now I actually want to see who they are. Now that I got a general view of the chat, now I want to see who they are. So far, nobody makes 250,000. Okay, one person. See, you see now you see where I'm going. Come on, is there more? Because there was more people that clicked yes, and so I'm curious, who is that? Put a 1 in the chat if you make 250 or more. Don't get me wrong. People that make 250,000 aren't necessarily morons. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to get an idea. More, but obviously there's nobody. You see, this is kind of interesting. They don't want their comments qualified. So what I noticed about trolls is that they don't want you to know their race. They want you to guess it. They want to pretend like it. They don't usually have any information on their profiles that qualify who they are. They like to be anonymous and unidentified, but they want you to believe them, right? But then they also aren't good at answering precise questions. They always avoid an exact question because, again, they don't want you to be able to use that to qualify any of their other statements. So you see, when it's in private, they're willing to answer. But when it's not private, they don't want you to know who they are because they don't want you, being able to qualify them at any point. You see what I'm saying? And match it up. So in any case, thanks a lot. I appreciate that, y'all, those of you that participated. All right, let's go on.
Is like crazy land, right? So, they took it to the next step. Like Chris, you're not thinking about this, right? You got to think about what about the future of where we got robots building robots, right? And you just got like, okay, is that the future that we want? And then they'll be like, well, Chris, you're so dumb. The robots are already patriotic and waving the flags. You're just unpatriotic if you don't want a robot future. That's kind of how they attack you because they'll say, guys, this is all about growth of the economy, right? It's going to be unprecedented growth. This is also stuff that the Trumpers are up to, right? We talk about this. OpenAI proposes 5% stake to take to Trump administration to ease Washington pressure. Wow, fantastic. And
having a stake in OpenAI would be the government picking a winner. We have a bunch of companies trying to do this, and I know that the proposal would include potentially Anthropic and Meta. But
all right, so while this money thing is going on right here, right, in the U.S., while this is happening, this debate is going on in the U.S., right, there's more. At the same time, to qualify this experience, now let's look at what's happening. Let's look at what the United States is not doing well, right? Let's look at that. When we talk about the job market, when we talk about inflation, when we talk about things that affect the average American, not the wealthy. Because the wealthy live a different life, and they generally don't care about anybody else in the country, right? No one else in their state. If you're not wealthy like them, they generally have a vision of fuck you, who cares what you think? I have money, that's all that counts. That's what a libertarian would do. That's what an extreme capitalist would do. That's not what a capitalist would do. A capitalist is basically the average person in the Western world. All other capitalist nations outside of the United States of America have universal health care, have universal education, have actually pretty good housing regulations, fair housing laws, right? It's the United States that stands alone with that dynamic. That's why it's called an extremist capitalist version, right? So capitalism has socialist projects in it if it wants it. All other Western nations have those social projects inside of them, right? And they use tax money to pay for it. Soon as you leave the United States of America, 60% of your taxes goes back into these type of things that affect the average person's life. When you're in the United States of America, only 45% of your taxes you pay at best go into your life. You see what I'm saying? At the same time, they're building robots, but the people who vote in the United States have half the representation of a European citizen. We're talking about parliamentary representation. We're talking about voting rights. We're talking about having a representative that comes to your town, in your part of town, not just state, your town, and kind of knows how life is, right? You have half that representation for the same amount of people, right, in the U.S. That's at best. At worst case scenario, with countries like Denmark, you have like 35-40% less parliamentary representation. So all those things kind of come together to qualify a certain experience, right? Now, check this out. This is going on at the same time in the United States. Now, we're not talking about the rich people and the robots anymore. We're not talking about the grand scheme of plan in Mars and hey, give me your money. We need more taxpayer money to build a billion robots that's going to, go to Mars, or they're going to do something else because so far nobody's living on Mars yet. So where those robots going to be at again? Just like where was ICE? Where's ICE supposed to be now? ICE is in fucking airports doing nothing, This is the other side of it.
People lining up in New York, not for a concert or SNL tickets or even a sneaker drop, but for the grand opening of Midtown Manhattan's first Aldi. Sure, they were giving away some goodies, but the uber popular German affordable grocery store chain is taking the United States by storm.
Oh, I love it. Everything is so cheap in there.
Already with more than 2,500 stores nationwide, the company plans to add over 500 more by 2028.
When you hear that Aldi's is planning to open up hundreds of more stores, what goes to your head?
It's a great idea.
The pitch, lower prices. It seems to be resonating with many Americans hungry for value. Aldi just announced a $9 billion investment in the U.S. market, telling NBC News the, quote, combination of value, simplicity, and innovation is driving tremendous demand, reporting 17 million new customers last year.
And have you felt affordability pressures when you go to the grocery store these days?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you buy like 5 things and you're like, why is this $100?
Recent data shows American shoppers are increasingly cutting costs by comparing prices at grocery stores, buying generic food brands, and using coupons. Behaviors that fit Aldi's model and its German competitor Lidl. A recent Consumer Report study found prices at Aldi and Lidl are, on average, around 8.5% lower than Walmart's nationwide. The only stores that scored better? Costco and BJ's, which require a membership and sell most items in bulk.
I think it's great to have another option because I usually shop at like Whole Foods and that's really expensive.
So how do they do it? For starters, most of Aldi's products sport its own store brands, avoiding name brand markups. Trader Joe's uses a similar approach and is also owned by Aldi. Plus, the stores themselves are built to keep costs down. They're smaller and operate with fewer employees. Shoppers bag their own groceries and often pull items straight from shipping boxes rather than stock shelves.
I don't mind at all because it's saving me money.
Lidl, which has a similar business model, hasn't quite made the same splash. It arrived in the U.S. with ambitious expansion plans back in 2017. But nearly a decade later, Lidl has just 185 stores nationwide. Both chains face stiff competition in the ultra-low margin grocery business, especially from national giants like Walmart, Amazon Whole Foods, and Target, along with regional names like Kroger's and Publix. But in the battle for Americans' grocery dollars these days,
Arriva, Aldi.
Price may be the biggest advantage of all. Allie Canal, NBC News.
Right. So while the robots are being built, Americans are concerned. The average American, that 50%, let me see in the chat. What is it? Yeah, that 47% in the chat, which is the largest population in the chat. 50,000, 47% of the people in the chat make closer to 50,000 a year. 20% make closer to 150. I mean, obviously 150, if you know the U.S. economy, that's not a lot. I'll give you an example. If you want to live in DC in one home, you need at minimum that. That's just making it in DC. Right. So a lot of states, 150,000 is not a lot of money. So, but and then there's 7% in the chat that makes 250,000 or somewhere around that, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And then there's 27% that say they make 300,000 more. Right. They didn't want you to know who they are, though, because when I asked them in the chat to put a 1 in the chat, they declined to do that, even though the chat is open. It's not in subscriber mode. And the rules are, for this chat, the rules are very simple. I get something from you too, because I do my anthropology while I do my show. So that means that if you don't answer my questions exactly how I'm asking them, like put a 1 in the chat, that doesn't mean put a 1 in the chat and then start writing all kinds of other shit. And it doesn't mean write all kinds of other shit without putting a 1. It pretty much means just put a 1. That's what it means. 2 if I say 2. 3 if I say 3. That's it. Because that's why I'm doing my show, to collect the data. So, and of course, to qualify the other statements that those same people make later. You see what I mean? Yeah. So that's how I do this. So now I'm going to ask people one more time. Those of you that make over $250,000 a year, put a 1 in the chat. Or above, 250 or above. Put a 1 in the chat. Yeah, that's all I'm doing. And now back to this. While this is going on, it seems to be an issue about cost of living in the United States of America. If cost of living is an issue in the United States of America, if you're an American and you live in the United States of America, right? If cost of living is an issue, let me know what state you live in and put a 2 in the chat if cost of living is an issue. Anybody else not concerned about? So there is no 1 here or other option. Only if you think cost of living is an issue, put a 2 in the chat and let me know your state. I'm going to dig up some information right here. On average, 2 seconds. Okay, so I'm back now. So let me see here. Let me go over to some data. Let me look at the chat. Okay, so there's enough people. Florida, California, Nevada. Let me see. Big up. Thanks for answering to you folks. Illinois, Missouri. Okay, yeah, because this is not a political issue. To me, it's like I see Republicans and liberals complaining about the cost of living. So, to me, it seems like it's an American issue. It should be. It's a topic for a lot of people. It's not just the U.S., but let me see here. California, Nevada, right? Okay, 150. Yeah, I got you. That's the average, Tim. I got you, man. But you surviving, bro. I mean, I make less than you, man, to be honest with you. Although my quality of life is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Because actually, hold on. Let me think about this. I don't know if I make less than you. I need to do the math. But I think I do. Tim. But let me see here. Let me see who else. Cali, All Goods. I'm in California. Okay. So here we go. Now, let me go over to some data on that issue real quick. Here we are. Now, it says, on average in the United States has come the most affordable food in the world relative to consumer income. But this national average has significant regional differences when compared to various European nations, right? So when you compare it to the rest of the world, right? On average, right? On average, what does it say? You see? On average, the United States has some of the most affordable food in the world. World is the operative term. When looking at the ability to afford food on average, data shows a clear distinction between the United States and Europe. In economics, this is heavily influenced by Engel's law. A household or country's income rises, the percent of income spent on food decreases if the absolute amount spent on food increases, right? On average, the United States has some of the most affordable food in the world, right? Relative to consumer income. But this national average hides significant regional differences when compared to various European nations. Share of household. Now, those of you that don't know why I do comparative data all the time is because my thoughts about it is that if you don't have something to compare it to that's similar or close to you, then you don't really know how good is, and you don't really know how bad is. So that's why we do that here. Now, share of the household budget spent on food. According to data compiled by the USDA, Economic Research Services, Euromonitor, and World Economic Forum, Americans spend the lowest percentage of their disposable income budget on groceries globally. Again, that's globally. In Europe, the share of household spending dedicated to food varies heavily between Western, Northern Europe, and Eastern Europe. But also, all European countries spend a higher percentage of their budget on food than the USA. Like I spend it, now don't get me wrong. We do spend a lot on food in Europe, right? We feel inflation, but we don't pay as much for other things that are necessities. So just keep that in mind when you hear this data. Okay. United States, average share of household budget, 6.4 to 7.1. United Kingdom, 8.2 to 9.4. Switzerland, 8.7 to 10%. Germany, 11.7. France, 15.0. Spain, 15.0. Italy, 16.5. Poland, 25.0. Right? Damn. And Bulgaria, Romania, this is to give you an idea, 22%. So this gives you some understanding of what Eastern Europe might look like compared to Western Europe, right? And then Southern Europe to Northern Europe, this kind of dynamic. It's not exact, but it's somewhat there. Now, why is food cheaper relative to income in the U.S.? Higher disposable income. The average per capita disposable income is structurally higher in the U.S. compared to many European nations. Exactly. Like, I probably make less than someone like Tim, right? But what else? The cost of the other things, make that possible. So when you compare all those other things that we pay, I might come home with more money afterwards. You see what I'm saying? Like the average European literally has more money after they pay their taxes and after they pay their expenses, and food is an expense. So here we have it. Disposable income. The average per capita disposable income is structurally higher in the U.S. compared to many European nations, mathematically shrinking food share of the pie. Massive domestic production. The U.S. is agricultural powerhouse, exporting massive surpluses of grain, meat, and dairy. Local supply chains keep transport costs low. As aggressive retail competition, hyper-competitive mega retailers like Walmart, Costco, and Aldi USA drive grocery margins incredibly low. Food insecurity and affordability paradox. While the average American household has a high ability to afford food, looking at the national average can mask the reality of lower income tiers. The data shifts when looking at food insecurity. The actual inability to consistently afford or access nutritional food. The European Union, according to Eurostat data, roughly 8.3 of EU citizens report being unable to afford a proper meal containing meat, fish, or vegetarian equivalent every other day. However, this ranges dramatically from 1.4 in Ireland to over 22% in Romania. The United States, despite having the cheapest food on paper, the USDA tracks food insecurity at around 10 to 12% of U.S. households. The takeaway: the Western European countries often spend a larger chunk of their paycheck at the average grocery store than Americans do. However, European social safety nets, universal health care, and targeted food programs means that lower income tiers in Western Europe often face less severe food insecurity spikes than lower income families in the United States. You see how that works out? So, because, like I said, there's other aspects to this. Now, again, the United States makes way more money. It's a much bigger economic zone than Europe. Europe is, what is it, around? It's about half. The GDP is half, even though there's 450 million people. Think about this. Even though there's 450 million people in Europe, the GDP is basically half of the U.S., roughly, we could say. Let's use that as a starting point. So the United States is per person way richer, but it has a high level of food insecurity, right? You can see that. Europe has more people, but it's actually has programs and things like that in effect to kind of work with food insecurity through the tax system, right? So now let's look at one more thing, and then we're going to get on to some other news. I just wanted to walk out of this part real quick. How much after paying expenses and taxes, okay, let me see here. Now I'm going to ask about the tax system, the expenses. Okay, so here. Here we are. Can I pull it up? Here we go. So, on average, the United States takes home significantly more leftover money than Europe after paying taxes and basic expenses, right? Can y'all see this? Okay. When economists measure this, they look at the net adjusted household disposable income calculated by organizations like the OECD. This metric subtracts income taxes and Social Security contributions adjusted for the local cost of living, purchasing power parity, and even adds back the value of government services like public health care and education to make it a fair comparison. The data shows that the U.S. leads developed world in terms of average take-home money, right? So, raw data, net disposable income per capita. According to the OECD data, the average amount of money a person has available for spending and saving after taxes and necessary expenses looks like this. United States, 62,000 to 71,000. Luxembourg, 56,000 to 70,000, right? Germany, 47,000 to 61,000. Australia, 46,000. France, 39,000 to 53,000. United Kingdom, 39,000 to 49,000. Italy, 38,000 to 47,000. Even when you look at the median data, which removes the impact of billionaires throwing off the average, the median American household still has more cash left over than the median household in almost every European country. In fact, macroeconomics often point out that a striking statistic: the median resident of Mississippi, the poorest U.S. state, has a comparable or higher disposable income than the average resident of the United Kingdom or France. Why the U.S. takes home more cash? The U.S. advantage comes down to the three main structural differences: lower tax burden. European countries fund their robust social safety nets through a heavy taxation. A worker making the equivalent of $70,000 in Paris or Berlin faces vastly higher incomes, social security deductions, and consumption tax VAT, which is usually around 20% in Europe, compared to 5 to 10% average sales tax in the U.S. Example: an American making $70,000 in a typical state will take home thousands of dollars more per year in net pay than a European making the exact same gross salary. Higher nominal wages. An American salary, particularly in professional tech corporations and healthcare sector, are structurally much higher than the European counterpart. Cheaper core commodities. Beyond taxes, the U.S. benefits from massive domestic energy and agricultural production. This means day-to-day baseline expenses like electricity, gas, gasoline, groceries are generally much cheaper in the U.S. than in Western Europe. Bear with me, there's more. The catch: watch the leftover money. Must buy. What's the leftover money? While the data clearly shows Americans have more cash left over on average, how that money is spent differs fundamentally due to the societal structure. In the U.S., out of that larger pool of leftover money, Americans often have to personally fund things like that Europeans get free or heavily subsidized via their taxes. This includes high health insurance deductibles, private child care, which can cost as much as rent, university tuition, student loans, and funding their own retirement 401ks. In Europe, though Europeans have less cash in their bank accounts at the end of the month, they face fewer catastrophic financial risk. Healthcare is largely covered, university is cheap or free, childcare is heavily subsidized, and robust state pensions offer a more secure baseline safety net. So, check this out. If you add education and health insurance to the expenses, right? Like taxes and food.
B.
Yeah, what's up, bro? You there? Good to have you up, Michael.
I'm here.
Then who keeps?
Just learning, listening as well. I'm surprised that they didn't cover also the fact that a lot of our food costs are lower because we grow and have, a large amount of like cattle. Most of our cattle is produced here in America, right? So when it comes down to prices like beef and chicken, America has a lot of farmland, right? Agricultural land.
Right.
When it comes to offsetting those prices as well, where, a lot of smaller European countries, they don't have states dedicated to just cattle. Right. They don't have that space and that, that growing space and, that when it comes to just basic cattle and also your basic goods in terms of vegetables and
the U.S. has a smaller population and more land. It has a lot of land and smaller population. It's true. But look at this data right here, because see, I know how this goes. Once you start getting into the data, I notice it's not trying to put everyone in one pool when it gives me this data this time, but I'm going to ask it to. But look at this one. Average, the middle class winner, USA on cash, Europe on peace of mind. The median American family has more raw cash left over to buy a larger home, own multiple cars, and buy consumer goods. However, a significant portion of that cash must be aggressively saved for future college funds or unexpected medical deductibles. The European counterpart has less cash. We already said that, but here, see, it doesn't. It's so funny because I'm starting to think Google is now starting to not give data clear. Okay, let me say something. I know but I want you to include health care and education as an expense, and then tell me who takes home or who keeps more of their money after all of these expenses are included. Here we go. Yeah, it's interesting how we try to break up middle and then or lower class, upper class. Let me see here. Now, here it is. See, they had to strip the macroeconomic theory. Exactly. I don't want the macroeconomic theory. What is this? Okay, here we go. Now, the myth of the average personal singles and high earners. Because the U.S. has a much higher starting baseline salary, the single person or couple without kids keeps more raw money in the U.S., even after paying out of pocket of health education. The baseline cash gap. The average U.S. household starts at about 15 to 20,000 more in the disposable income year than Western European households, Germany, France, UK, after basic taxes. The healthcare deductible. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the KFF data, the average American household spends about $5,000 to $6,800 a year out of pocket on healthcare premiums, deductibles, and copays. The education deductible, if you amortize student loans or college savings, the average American under 40 pays roughly $3,600 to $5,000 a year towards higher education. Verdict: for single high earners, deducting $10,000 to $11,000 for health and education from the U.S. Look how it says single high earners. See, this is what I don't understand. How it's trying to do this data. Verdict: for single high earners, deducting $10,000 to $11,000 for health and education from the U.S. cash advantage still leaves the average American with a few $1,000s more pure liquid savings than their European counterpart. The math for family with kids, where Europe wins. Okay, so this is where it is. Family with kids, Europe wins. The moment you introduce children into the equation, which would be education, right? I mean, pretty much, the heavy private financial burden in the U.S. 2 seconds. I got somebody at my door. I think that's my plumber coming in here. 2 seconds. Mike, do me a favor. Take over real quick. Can you see what's up on the screen? Can you see the data, or should I send it to you? I can actually send it to you here. 2 seconds. It does say Europe wins here. So let me just put this over to you in your chat real quick, and then I will be right back. I hope you can see this. Yeah, I got to let my plumber in, man. He's got to install something for me. Here we go. Boom. I will be right back. Here we go. It's the plumber. It's the plumber. Huh? Well, Marcusville? Yeah. Mike, you there?
I'm here.
Did you get a chance? Did you open up what I sent you in the chat?
Oh, no. Let me look at it now.
Okay. Yeah. Take over for a second. I got to handle something here. It's my plumber coming in. Sorry about that. I just sent you with the data I have up here. So maybe you could, if you don't mind, you could break some of it down for folks. I have the main thing up on the screen for people, for them to see, so they can understand something. And this is what I want folks to know. We're talking about the math for a family with kids, right? On average, how it looks like. All right, I'll be right back.
On average, in terms of ability to afford food in the U.S. versus Europe. When looking at the ability to afford food, on average, data shows a clear distinction between the United States and Europe. In economics, this is heavily influenced by Ingalls' law. As a household or country's income rises, the percentage of income spent on food decreases, even if the absolute amount on food increases. On average, the United States has some of the most affordable food in the world relative to consumer income. But this national average hides significant regional differences when compared to various European nations. They don't go further into that, but that's kind of what I was circling back to before when it comes to our geography, right? A large part of America, and particularly Middle America, is almost exclusively livestock, cattle, and agriculture. So basic, vegetables and fruits that are grown here within the U.S. So that tends to offset a lot of the prices, making it so much more cheaper when it comes to food, in particular here in the US, where a lot of these smaller European countries, due to geography and just overall landmass, they don't have that opportunity to have just half of their country dedicated to cattle or half of their country dedicated exclusively to crops, right? Here in America, we grow tons of crops, in particular corn, wheat is another large agriculture crop or cash crop. What's another one? We have soy. So soybean is one of the largest outsourced crops that we send out to other nations, in particular China. So we do grow a lot of the soybean that China and other Asian countries consume of. um Corn is, again, corn, I circle back to corn. So some of these things, and even beef, so cattle, 80% of the beef that we consume is grown here in the US. And that's another reason that our prices here in the US tend to be more affordable, especially in particular when it comes to our food consumption, right? Where a lot of these European countries, they tend to have to import a lot of their beef, a lot of their chicken, a lot of their pork, a lot of other cattle. And so that makes it, just the fact that they have to import it makes it so much more expensive. And it becomes more of a delicacy, if that. And it also leads to, ironically, less obesity. The fact that food tends to be a lot more, or just more expensive in these European countries, they tend to consume a lot less meat in their average diet, which leads to less health issues in terms of obesity, high blood pressure, hypertension. So there's a lot more nuance that they won't necessarily cover with this just kind of blanket overview.
I'm back, bro.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah.
We'll continue to you can continue from share of household budget spent on food. So what I was explaining to them after reading the first portion is, like I was mentioning before, a lot of the cost of food here in the US is offset by the fact that half of America is dedicated to cattle and crops,
Right,
right? Here in the US, just like I mentioned before prior, was 80% of our beef
right,
is grown here in the US, right?
right.
That other 20% is imported from countries like Brazil,
Yeah,
but that also makes it a lot cheaper for us to purchase a lot of these goods when it comes to food consumption, right?
right, right.
And the fact that a lot of European countries just don't have the landmass or the agriculture to support, an industry like a heavy cattle industry
Yeah,
or a heavy crop industry,
right.
right? So they tend to import a lot of these goods, and that tends to be where the cost adds up more for Europeans.
Yeah,
But in contrast to that, because these items tend to be a bit more expensive. The European diet consists less of meats, right? It is more
Absolutely.
diverse.
Yep.
And so that leads to less things like obesity, hypertension, high blood pressure, right?
And you know what, bro? Just the fact that Europeans have more parliamentary representation means that they're more agile in how they move through and deal with these issues when confronted with cost. They can make a move and force politicians to act on certain things quicker. In the United States, we have less parliamentary representation, bro. We have half the parliamentary representation if you just put all European countries together from the start. And then if you compare it to a country like Denmark, we have 30 fucking times less parliamentary representation each person. So when we're dealing with these issues, right, we're stuck. We have slow political reactions. People are being harmed. That becomes a violent situation. Poverty is violent. And also losing a home when you're a middle class person is a violent fucking experience, right? When you have kids, look at this. So the summary, just to get to the summary of where this was, there's a lot of data, but you should know this off the bat if you never knew. If you did not know this one thing and you are listening, know this. Yeah, we know rich people have it good in the U.S. That's not a surprise. Who keeps more? The United States wins if you're a single or high earner tech, engineering, corporate, or don't plan on having children. Your taxes are low enough and your salary is high enough to easily absorb American healthcare and educational costs and still leave you with more liquid cash. But here's the thing. Europe wins if you are a median income earner or lower income earner or parent. That's 3 different groups. Are you a parent? You win in Europe. Are you a median income worker? You win in Europe. Are you a lower income worker? You win in Europe. Once healthcare, childcare, and university tuition are treated as mandatory cash expenses, the European system protects your wallet far better, allowing a family to keep a higher portion of their actual net income as disposable savings. That's what I'm getting at. Now, I don't know what your politic is based on. I don't know what what you're looking for in the United States with your vote, right? But like I said, if you're somebody talking about they're going to replace us, aren't you talking about your family? Who are you talking about when you say they're going to replace us? Aren't you talking about your family? Because the actual data says it's your tax system that's replacing you. It's your tax system that's doing the job for you, man. Nobody else got to do it. It's the tax system. It's not built for families. It's not built for middle income workers. It's not built for low income workers. And there's more of you than anybody else in America. It's just that simple.
They make up around 60 to 70% of the workforce, right? Those low, middle, and lower class individuals make up the majority of the workforce. That is what it means to be in the working class.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
When you talk about corporate jobs, that's upper middle class.
Absolutely.
Right? And upper class.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There are less of those jobs, right? Your average taxi driver, your average construction worker, your average McDonald's worker, your average train conductor. These are working class jobs, right? When you want to define the corporate side of America, now you're reading, middle class, like definitive middle class, mostly likely upper middle class, right? But those jobs are far and few in between, right? These are smaller sectors. They're not larger employers, right? When we look at some of the largest employers, we're looking at your Walmarts, right? We're looking at your Amazons, right? That's what it means to be working class, right?
It is. Somebody in the chat said, if you want something, go to work for it and get it. Excuse me. Lower working class earners are still at work. Median income workers are still at work. What are you talking about? And even people that are above medium income workers and happen to have children, they're still at work. What are you talking about? That's 60%. That's 60% of the working class.
Tell him to go work minimum wage in Texas and see how far he gets working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You won't get far.
You
won't get far.
Look,
the average median home, right? That is 40 to $50,000 more than
Yeah.
the average median income. If that doesn't tell you what wealth inequality is, so I'll break that down for you. The average median income is around $55,000 a year. Your average median home on the lowest end, I'm talking in the most remote area. This is a fixer upper. It's your basic one family. You probably have 2 rooms, a kitchen, and half a backyard. That's gonna cost you around 100 to 120,000 dollars, right? So that's how you want to measure health when it comes to affordability in a country. What is your most lowest average home that would cost you versus what your average median income will cost you? And that tells you the wealth inequality and the wealth disparity right there. When your lowest home, your most shittiest home in America, on average, is going to cost you 40 to 50,000 dollars more than what the average median income is. That says enough, because when we talk about median, that means you can get a job and most likely working 40 hours. That is going to be your base pay, right? Your yearly pay. When you look at the overall homes in America, when you look at the most remote place, one of the cheapest median prices still outweighs what you would make a year working the most basic job in America. And that's an issue, right? That means home ownership is out of reach, is more out of reach, right? And that number is only going to continue to rise as our wages stay stagnant if we don't do something about steadily increasing these working class and minimum wage jobs, right? There is no reason why in Texas in particular, 75% of the individuals in Texas in terms of working, they make less than $24 an hour. This is also in contrast to the minimum wage, which is around $7.50 an hour. That's insane, right? That is insane, right?
It
And
is
so
insane, bro.
that's the disconnect that a
And
lot of people don't understand. Because sometimes the data doesn't tell you direct things to contrast, to put it in perspective, and
right.
it also doesn't tell you the full truth,
Yeah.
right? You have to have more nuanced questions in order to get that full picture. It gives you the most basic, nice and neat overlay without going into the finer details. And a fact like Texas being, having 75% of their individuals making $24 or less is a stat that you would have to go personally find. I found that out because individuals were having a discussion about where you can get the most money for your buck, right?
Right.
And they said, if you were making, you know, $30 an hour and you moved to and you moved to Texas, you'd live a great life. Sure, but you would be in the 15 percentile that make $30 plus an hour. And then if you lose that job, you now have a market that is so niche that you probably won't make that $30 an hour again. Right now, you're in a job market that's
you
going to
know,
pay you $24 and under. But go ahead, V.
yeah. So, someone in the chat said, get a better job, or yeah, I did. Right. Someone said it like that. Well, here's the thing about that, right? You don't have any evidence. And we're talking about evidence. We're going through the data. The things that we're presenting are facts, right? You're not presenting the fact. You're just saying, I have it. So show us. Where is it at? How come all the people that say they have it don't have nothing on their YouTube page? Why is that? Why do you think that is? Is it because they have it, or is it because they don't? If you have to make a simple, answer, obviously it would be they don't, because most people show a little of what they have. This person who said that is not showing nothing. So you have to understand, this is how the internet works. It works off of there's a lot of trolls that that are anonymous and unidentified, right? They don't want you to really know who they are, but they expect people to just believe them at their word. I don't believe you at your word. Matt, I don't believe you at your word, man. Prove it. Hop on up. Let's leave the link for Matt to hop up, and let's see if he's different from the other trolls. Okay? Let's see if Matt could prove us wrong, wants to be different from the others, right? And actually be a part of the conversation, or if he doesn't want people to hear his voice or be asked any questions. Like, he may not want to be asked a question and put on the spot. And you see what I mean? But I want Matt to hop up and ask us a question and put us on the spot. See how we react on camera to it. See how our voices sound. So come on up, Matt. Here you are. I'm sure you got that great job, so you must know how Discord works. You're on YouTube. I'm sure technology is not a problem. It's easy for you, right? So hop on up. There you go. Hop on up, Matt. Here, let me type panel just in case Matt missed that. Panel. And then I'll put the link there. Here we go. Boom. Because Matt is a professional and he earns a lot of money and he knows what's best for other people. So he's got some enlightening information. So let's wait for Matt to see if Matt can prove something, qualify something at least, right? Instead of just an empty YouTube page talking about he's Superman and shit. Okay, well, let's get back to the data. Europe wins if you are a median income worker, or a low income earner, or a parent. So even if you're a median income worker or above and you're a parent, Europe wins. You see, because even if you make more money in Europe, guess what? None of that healthcare and education is not a factor. And your child can go back to school twice, 3 times, different kind of educations, different type of studies. You might go to the hospital more than once. You might go to the doctor more than a American might go. You might yourself go back to get another education. All that is, already taken care of. That's expected. You see what I mean? So the only difference is that everyone has access to the things you like too. Not the kind of clothes you like, not the car you like, not the luxury housing you like, but just healthcare and education. The basics. Would you like that in your economy? Let me ask how many people would like everyone where they live, right, in the state where they live, to at least have the basics like healthcare and education. Not whether. Let's not talk about how you want them to get it. Let's talk about, do you just want that? Do you think that's a good thing everybody should have? Put a 1 in the chat if you think everybody, at the bare minimum, should have healthcare and education. Put a 1 in the chat if you think so. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. I'm just curious about this. Because some people are just that fucking, stingy that no, there's some Ebenezer Scrooges out there. You see, look, somebody put nope. Okay, well, you put nope. All right, no problem, buddy. You put nope. Good. I'm going to give it. Now, I just want to see who else puts no. Put a 1 in the chat if you think everybody should have healthcare and education. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. In your state. It doesn't matter who's paying for it. I just said we're not talking about how it's going to get done. We're asking, do you want everyone to have it? Start off there. Because if you don't even want it, then why do you care how? I mean, what the heck? You got to get the first part right first.
I left the article from Yahoo Finance in the chat so people can click on it, read it, and it shows that only 18% of Americans make $100,000 or more, right? And when you circle back,
and look at the chat. Look at the chat. Look at the chat. The chat got more than that. Talk about, I make more than that. Look at the chat, bro. Somehow we got rich people in our chat, boy. We got some Hasidini folk.
So if that's the case, if you like the content and since you're here, please donate.
Oh my God. Yeah, donate. If you're making some money, donate, man. Come on. And also show us some of that money on your YouTube page. Don't just hide it. Show us some, man. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I'll believe it when they start donating a whole lot more, even if they disagree, right?
Exactly. The data says they broke, bro.
Remember, 18% of Americans make $100K or more. 18%. That percentage only goes further down once you start passing $100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So simple math, if 18% of Americans only make 100K plus, guess what that means? That means the other 82%, no, the other 82% make less than $100,000 a year.
And you know what it also means, Mike? It means some of you motherfuckers in the chat are some lions. You know, that's what that means. You know, look at this shit. Look at this fucking, you some weak asses. Look at this. 22% over, look, 6%, 20. We got 28% in the chat that make over 250,000. So you mean the rich people? The rich people come here, bro. The rich people come to my page. I appreciate it. There must, you know, I'm not doing the worst off, but damn, like I didn't know it was like that. What the fuck? I thought I was for the poor folk. You know what I'm saying? You broke ass motherfuckers, man. Come on. They be lying and making shit up. I mean, you don't have to make shit up. Look, just be here with the rest of us. Be cool. You like me, bro. You ain't special. Yo, what the fuck?
It says approximately 7 to 10% household. This is not even individual. Household make 250,000.
It's even worse.
A year.
That's terrible, bro. That's terrible. That's terrible.
So you're a part of the 7% of Americans. 7%. That, like, I don't think they understand how percentages work.
They don't, bro. Not everybody. No, most. No, look.
Of Americans do make less than 250K a year. 93%. 93.
Our chat is very intelligent, but the trolls in the chat, it's like they dumb, bro, because they don't even bother to even want to know the math and shit. They just like, nah, man, I'm a millionaire, bro. Get a job like me. I'm a millionaire. If I could do it, you could do it. Yeah, but you didn't do it because where's it at? Outside of your word, where do we exist? Nowhere. It's just you need to tell the statistics. Whoever took these statistics, you need to go sign up to theirs because apparently they didn't knock on your door. But yeah. This is
you have individuals.
This is real data, though, bro. Obamacare. This ain't just a poll.
Real data.
Yeah, this ain't just a poll. Yeah, this ain't a poll. This is not a spot poll.
I left a link in the chat to just for a brief economic insight to only the 18% in America who make 100K plus, right? 250K a year or more.
Yeah,
you're within the 7 to 5 percentile of Americans. Think about that. If you even made that much money, you would understand how much of an outlier you are when it comes to that stat, right?
Facts.
And second to that, you have individuals even in the chat, right? Because they're circling back to healthcare. You said Obamacare, liberals said Obamacare would fix things. Where is the Republicans' response to Obamacare? Didn't Trump say on his first months in office that he was going to come with a comprehensive healthcare plan, that he was going to give the money to the people instead of subsidizing it? And guess what still hasn't happened?
You know what?
Guess what they're not even discussing? They're not even discussing healthcare.
They don't
have
want
a comprehensive plan. They don't care about it because they know they can't fix it. And if they destroy Obamacare, a lot of Americans would go without insurance or have skyrocketing premiums to even enter the healthcare market. So how dare you fix your mouth to talk about Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act when you yourself can't even come up with a comprehensive healthcare plan? And everything you said, you think the Republicans wouldn't have done it if it was that easy? Get out of here. Like,
you know what that reminds me of? That kind of comment reminds me of, because Obama was a long time ago, bro. You know, there's been presidents since then. And that just reminds me of something like, my daddy told me, I'm done my business. It's like, dude. Oh, really? You going way back? Your granddaddy told you some shit, dude? Your daddy? It's like, come on, man. Give it a break. Again, who's been around? You could at least said you could at least said Biden. You could at least say Kamala Harris. They didn't want to say that because they wanted to improve it. That's why they don't want to say Kamala Harris. And they know damn well Trump didn't improve it. Republicans aren't even trying to improve it. You see what I mean? That's not even an issue. They're like, man, in fact, they're trying to cut more of your health care. You know?
Yes.
So
look, they cannot completely, if Trump wanted to tomorrow, he has majority House and Senate. He could pass a comprehensive health bill tomorrow if he wanted to. They don't have one, and they cannot dismantle the ACA. So what do? They make it harder to qualify for ACA subsidies or ACA in general, right? Because the only way they can force you to believe that it doesn't work is if they price you out or make you an example to not be able to qualify for it.
Yeah.
They don't have a comprehensive health care plan, right? They said, again, they don't. This is a fact, right? Out of all the things that this current administration could have done, and that would have changed, and that would have made MAGA look even a fraction of a percent better, even with all the corruption, was pass a comprehensive health care bill. MAGAs would have so much more footing and so much more credibility to what they claim is the greatness of Trump if he came with a better, more comprehensive healthcare plan. And instead, his answer was to pass the big, beautiful bill, which indirectly and directly cuts funding to Medicare, cuts funding to Medicaid. Why? Because they don't have a comprehensive healthcare plan. So instead, they rather kick you off of your healthcare so that way you could believe that it is the ACA's fault, even though they have yet to replace it. Where's Trump? Where's Trump's ACA? He would write his name all over that bill, the Trump Healthcare Act. He would do it tomorrow if he could, but he can't because it doesn't exist. And the only way it exists is through subsidies, either a single payer or a public option, which we covered here in the past. We covered here this in the past, where you can go for either a public option, which is still not as good as a universal option, but at least a public option, which the closest thing in mild form is the ACA, right? The government offering healthcare at an affordable rate that forces the private companies to lower their rates, or they lose those clients to the state. We don't even have that. So if whatever brainwashing and propaganda you've consumed, this is all public facts. Go look it up. You can do the research, or you can continue to go to some of our past lives where we covered what a public option looks like and what a universal option looks like in terms of comprehensive health care.
Facts.
If you choose to not acknowledge that, that is on you. You can Google it yourself, right? Because we've covered it before, so we don't have to cover it again. You can either watch the video in the past and support us that way, or you can take your time out right now while you're wasting time in the chat to go Google what is a public option and what is a universal option when it comes to healthcare, and you'd find your answer right there. But go ahead, V.
I think people obviously people that don't know this information that we're sharing or never heard of it, obviously they're not into sharing this themselves, right? They don't quote the data. I'm curious. I would like someone to hop up and show us the data. Put the, at least come into the Discord link and give us the links of the data that you use, right? To give you people a better understanding of what's going on in the US. But since you don't do that, we can show you the data that's available right now. How many of you agree with CNN's data, right? How many of you agree? Because I don't always agree with CNN's data, right? But this obviously is United States, is what a lot of Americans watch, right? And if you disagree with it, that's okay. But I would like to hear you quote some data that is different from theirs. So anyone could say it's fake news. Trump said it's fake news. But look, I mean, is Fox real? Because there's plenty of things Fox says that's bad about Trump nowadays. There's plenty of people that supported Trump die-heartedly that are like, fuck Trump now. Like, really, they're like, Trump is a scammer. You know, there's plenty of them. So it doesn't work. I mean, when you have Joe Rogan, you know, questioning Trump after he pretty much helped put Trump in office, you know, whatever. So you think Joe Rogan's fake news too? So what's the real news? Everybody tell me, what is the real news called in the United States of America? What is the link to what's the company? We will pull up the real news so we can take a look at it and examine it and see if it passes the test. What's it called? I'm curious about that. Any real news? Maddie, what's the real news channel you watch?
Same here.
Where do you get your news from?
I'm confused. Right, and if so, I want to be enlightened. Please tell me where you find the real statistics and not rhetoric, not just someone saying things, where they pull up data and show that these are the facts, right? Peer-reviewed studies, right? Private studies that show statistics that we can now see what the credibility of these studies are. Let us inform us, right? Since you're so informed.
Yeah, I'm curious. They don't have alternative facts. That's the problem. It's just whatever is fake.
You know what's funny? They just mentioned, well, someone in the chat, if I'm not mistaken, this Matt. He said, all my buddies are in unions.
Median income jobs. Median income jobs. Median income jobs. Right there. That's solved. Median income jobs. So we already did the data on that. If you're in a union, that's a medium income job.
No, you know what also a union is? Is that not workers' rights? Does that not fall under socialism? Is that not a social policy? Is that not a collective social policy to promote union? And go look it up. That is a fact. That's not a maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Because guess what they would do? They would privatize every single sector.
Hold on. Check this out. What union is that, Matt? What union is that, Matt? Let's look up that union. What news is what union is that exactly? What state do you live in and who's your healthcare provider? What union is that, Matt? Answer one of those questions. What union is it? Look, he said electric. Anyway, so obviously Matt is not real. So let's continue. This is some news about Trump, however, and we would like some alternative facts, not just it's fake. Okay? That's not good enough either. Okay? Fake. It doesn't matter if you don't have something that's real.
Billions have been lost since Trump took
office.
We're talking about tariffs, the Iran war. We're talking about tourism. And we're going to go through it because I have looked through hundreds, if not thousands, of data points to find out, boom, what is the bill when it comes both to the do-re-mi as well as the cost in public opinion, not just here in the United States, but around the globe. And we're going to start off with tariffs. Take a look here. Okay, the loss to GDP in 2025, Trump's tariffs. Look at this. We're talking about $180 billion, $180 billion with a B. That is eye-popping. But it's not just the do-re-mi. It's, of course, the court of public opinion as well. And take a look here. Okay, we're talking about our allies, right? The net approval rating of Trump on tariffs. Look at this. In Canada, we're talking 65 points underwater for our neighbors in the north. They hate the tariffs. Hate. Now, of course, we're talking about the first ally, really, for the United States when it was born all the way back in 1776, 250 years ago. Look at this, 74 points underwater. But you think that's low? You ain't seen nothing yet. We're talking about Germany. Look at this, 83 points underwater. Woof. Now, you know what? It would be one thing. It'd be one thing if there was the cost to America. And the allies didn't like it, but maybe Americans liked it. But do we like new tariffs? No, we don't. No, we don't. Look at this. Okay, U.S. Americans on new tariffs on imported goods. You know, you go back to November of 2024. Look at this. 52% of Americans favored it, 48% opposed. Well, now we are in a completely different world. Yes, we are. We come back to the screen here. In 2026, look at this. 63% of Americans oppose these new tariffs on imported goods. That's up 15 points. Meanwhile, down we go. 37% now favor it. We're right into the Hudson River right here in New York in terms of the favor on tariffs. Now, in terms of the cost to Americans, the cost to you, the American consumer, look at this. Okay, what are we talking about? Total tariff cost paid by Americans, $231 billion with a B per household. We're talking about a little bit less than $2,000.
All right. So, is that a fact or is that a lie? Fact or fiction? What is the cost of the tariffs? Is it $237 billion or is that a false statement? I'm curious about that. Let us know. Let us know. Matt, it doesn't care, man. You don't share anything on your profile, so nobody believes you, okay? Anybody can brag and say they have something. Show people something, okay? You're hiding something? What? You ain't that rich. What the fuck you hiding, man? Get out of here with that bullshit. I don't fucking believe you, okay? Period. I'm real and I'm right here, okay? I'm calling you out, okay? I'm not a troll. I'm saying your name. It's live, okay? Show us something on your damn YouTube page. Then come back to me later. Now, here, answer this question, Matt. Is this a lie, what he just said, or is it true? 231 billion. Is that the cost of the tariffs so far?
World. Yes, we are. We come back to the screen here in 2026. Look at this. 63% of Americans oppose these new tariffs on imported goods. That's up 15 points. Meanwhile, woo, down we go. 37% now favor it. We're right into the Hudson River right here in New York in terms of the favor on tariffs. Now, in terms of the cost to Americans, the cost to you, the American consumer, look at this. Okay, what are we talking about? Total tariff cost paid by Americans, $231 billion.
Okay, fact or fiction? Put a 1 in the chat if that is fact. Pretty much fact. Come on, we know that it might be 230 and not 231 billion. That's still a fact. If it's nowhere close to that, I want to know the source and put a 2 in the chat. If it's nowhere close to that, put a 2 in the chat and give me your source so we can look it up right now. What is the data source you're quoting? We will look it up. Put a 1 in the chat if that's true, relatively true. Yeah, I'm just curious about that. It has the cost of the tariffs been 231 billion on the taxpayers? Yeah, because the taxpayers who pays it. People that sued the U.S. government, the companies that sued the U.S. government over these tariffs, right? That Howard Lutnick promoted, the American taxpayer money is the one paying them back. And the American taxpayer actually paid, the expenses. They're not getting a refund themselves. Let me see here. Yo, Matt, I'm going to ask you a question again. Was this statement true or false? And look, you in my chat, so be happy you here, but answer the question. Is it? I'm going to play it one more time for Matt, and Matt only. Everybody else can answer. You heard the question. If you want to answer, you can still answer. But Matt, this is your chance. Answer. Is this statement he's making true or false? And if it's false, put a 2 in the chat and list your data source so we can look it up.
Consumer, look at this. Okay, what are we talking about? Total tariff cost paid by Americans, $231 billion with a B per household.
Yeah.
So Matt mentioned that he is a member of the Local 12 Union.
Yeah.
They represent around only 25 to 40,000 members.
Mm-hmm.
That is peanuts in comparison to the workforce we have in America.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, but in any case, look, he also said, I don't believe nothing Jews say. Well, Matt, the problem is you didn't put a 1 or a 2 in the chat, bro. So that means you either fucking retarded or you just like an asshole. Listen, man, you got to come better next time. Don't worry. You don't have to agree, but you don't follow instructions well. So I don't believe you're an electrician. Okay, because electricians will kill themselves. Again, all I said was put a 1 in the chat if it's real, and if it's not, put a 2 and list your source. And what this grown ass jackass said is, I don't believe nothing Jews say. Man, get the fuck out of here with your jackass shit, man. Nobody got time for your bullshit. Get the fuck out of here, you bigot. Like, what the fuck? You act like people ain't tired of bigotry, man. Don't put out bigotry if you don't fucking like it yourself, you stupid motherfucker. You know, like, God damn. I'm so tired of it, you know? And so now I'm going to be a bigot towards Matt. Fuck you, Matt. Get you and your fucking kind out of here. Okay? I hate your kind, bitch. Now, let's get back to the one. Anybody named Matt? Anybody that It's like, come on, man. What is this? You see, that's what a troll does. A troll, anonymous, unidentified. A troll doesn't like, the typical shit. Doesn't like somebody because of their ethnicity. It's always a whole group of people they don't like. Can never answer a question how you ask it. Okay. And they claim they living on top of the world. Okay. So, Matt, you qualify as a troll. All right. So let's go. Don't worry, 5 minutes, he'll be back. I only put his only time to ask his little bitch ass out here in 5 minutes. And I call him a bitch because, look, I'm not up here hiding my face. Like, goddamn, I'm not playing games. If you use too much of my personal time, man, I'm gonna have to call you out, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, come real with your shit. I don't demand a whole lot, but start acting halfway right, man. Now let's see here. This is not all the data coming out of the U.S. It's pretty bad, but let's hear some more.
Talking about a little bit less than $2,000 per household. Woof. And that's just between February 2025 and January 2026. Now, I spoke about the tariffs, right? But it's not just the tariffs where the bill is coming due, right? It's about the war in Iran as well. And look here, okay, again, look at the allies. Net approval, Trump's handling of Iran. Look at this. In the UK, 50 points underwater right into the Atlantic Ocean. That's what we're talking about. But you think that's low? Look at Japan. Look at Japan right into the Pacific Ocean. 57 points underwater. But again,
everybody hates Trump except Putin and Xi. And the North Korean president, what's his name? This is embarrassing, bro. I mean, why? Netanyahu doesn't hate Trump. It's them. Putin, Xi, Netanyahu, and Kim Jong-un. They all love Trump. They all love Trump. Why do you think that is? Curious about that. Anybody know anything about that? Matt, why do you think that is, Matt? Oh, actually, Matt, here you go. Matt is timed out for 5 minutes, but he can hop up on the chat and straighten this shit out if he want, man. There you go. He can hop on the panel, There you go, Matt. You can still get your ass on the Discord panel and talk now, okay? You relegated to talk time now. Only talk time. Don't come back to the chat ever again, all right? Or you could come back again, but you better comply this time. All right, let's see here.
Nothing yet, because the Italians, look at the Italians. Trump's handling of Iran, 70 points underwater. You never see numbers like this. You never see numbers like this. But our allies pretty much all agree they do not like Trump's handling.
In Italy, they're like, come si dice asshole in inglese.
Of Iran. And look at this. In the median of 36 foreign countries, 54 points underwater. Oi, oi, oi. And you know what? It's having an impact here at home as well. Look at this. Look at Trump's approval rating. Look at him. Okay, Trump net approval on the issues, the economy, which was a strength during term number 1. He was 6 points above water. I do love Henry Winkler. I love the font. 6 points above water.
Oh, yeah, the BRICS nations, they backdooring Trump. They like in Trump like every goddamn day. They like, damn, I love me some Trump bottom, boy. Woo-wee.
Now, what are we talking about? 20 points underwater. Down we go. Down we go. And on foreign policy, look at the decline. He wasn't in too hot a shape back in June of 2018, 9 points underwater. But now, Trump is 22 points underwater, right into any body of water that you want to think of. He's down there with the Little Mermaid. That's really the bottom line. And you know what? It's not just about the public opinion, right? Again, let's go back to the cost. Let's go back to the cost. Look at this. The military spending. Look at this. U.S. military spending on the war. About or even more than $72 billion. $72 billion. Now, I will point out, this probably will add some jobs later on in the year for arms manufacturers, but I'll ask you whether or not you think that the cost is worth that, whether the cost is worth that. But of course,
they say we're spending, the U.S. is spending $1 billion a day on Iran, on this conflict with Iran. $1 billion a day. Let me, people can argue over that number. I think generally speaking, Americans and everybody else understands it's a lot of money, period. Whatever you think the number is, it's way out of proportion. And, it begs the question, why is it that they have so much money on a war that they started, but can't seem to like get anything finished about it? Like they don't seem to have a goal anymore. They say that the goal was the nuclear bomb, right? This is what they said, but everyone knows that's just code word because they come up with this all the fucking time. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but you can't have the same excuse for over a decade. This has been like 2-3 decades. And for some reason, it just is simple as that. The easiest, flimsiest excuse. They're going to have a nuclear bomb in 20 days, in 3 days. If we don't act now, if we don't do something now, they are going to have a bomb, And they've been saying that for 3 decades. Listen, if Iran wanted to attack the United States, they would have already done it. It doesn't take, if you're that determined to attack the United States, it would already happen. You just have to understand. Yeah, go ahead.
If I vaguely remember, the reason why we started a war in Iraq was for the claims of weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Yet we found no weapons of mass destruction. That's crazy.
None.
It's almost like it's a part of the same playbook to say the same thing in different contexts and then use it as a guise to continue or start war with a country that you want to dethrone.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And then hand it over to a Democrat to fix. Right. Basically, and again, look, 9/11 happened on Bush's watch. Bush was a neocon. Right. He was the one who was at the helm, him and Cheney, when this disaster happened, when 9/11 happened. So they have pretty much carried the blame. I mean, I don't give them personal blame, but what I mean is that, look, whatever your leadership skills were, whatever you were doing, it wasn't enough to protect the American people. So fuck what you want to call it. It just wasn't enough. And I don't mean it personally. It just wasn't enough. Not enough. What the hell? And then we had a Democrat come into power. That Democrat had to take all the blame, had to take all the responsibility for fixing it. You know what I mean? And that took a long time because of how we responded. Still, without knowing everything, we responded in a heavy-handed way. I'm not saying that it may not have. When somebody attacks your country, look, let's be honest. There's 2 things you can do. But I would have done something else because I know that the United States definitely has the ability to react with vengeance and an overwhelming capability to kill a lot of people. Vengeance, like that type of retribution, not caring about anyone, just killing. I know that the country has that ability, right? So that's always there. But when you know that's there, that's not always what you do first. You don't always lean on that first. First, you might want to make it very clear that, hey, you would like things to be different. You would like the world to be different. You want to find out who really did this. You want things. You don't want to go into a war. You don't want to be, and you really hope, that it can be avoided. This kind of the way that we talked. I don't think Bush talked the right way, before entering this conflict. And I think he did it rushingly, to be honest. But I also think Bush made another failure, his failure with Putin. I think Bush got played by Putin. I personally believe there's more to 9/11 than what people think. And I personally believe the U.S. government knows that, but hasn't released the information. Same reason why they won't release Jeffrey Epstein files. You know what I mean? Like, they know there's more to this, and it's easier to move and act if you if you don't explain things. If you explain everything you know, then your enemy also knows that you know those things now. And if you don't explain them, the enemy will always question, how much do you know? You see, it's like a cat and a mouse game. For example, look at how things turned out with Putin right now with Ukraine, right? Did Europe speak about, did they speak about we could devastate you? We're going to drop a nuke on you if you do that. No, Europe didn't respond that way verbally at all. They actually responded using extreme verbal restraint. They went out, called the world together. They went out, they did a whole lot of things. They did almost everything to avoid direct conflict with Russia, right? But at the same time, they also showed that they are capable of organizing in a way that could harm Putin and harm and really devastate the economy of Russia. They can do things without even being directly involved in war, is what I'm saying. Like, they gave Ukraine the ability to essentially, just through partnering, just through working with them, the ability to teach Russia a lesson. Russia has lost 1.5 million soldiers trying to invade Ukraine. You didn't hear any really Europe talk, beat their chest at all. So I wish the U.S. would have taken that approach with 9/11 instead of just give the problem over to a Democrat to fix later, and then, of course, they blame Biden with the retraction. I think all these things are connected, bro. I think they're all connected in some kind of twisted way. Netanyahu, now I'm not saying they had something directly to do with it, but some people think that 9/11, Epstein, Russia, and maybe some others, right? I think that's pretty much my take on it. But overall, I just think that this shit is just too convenient. Now we're back. Our language hasn't changed with think about this. Our language hasn't changed with Iran. It changed with Obama. But overall, the neocon language has never changed. It's been consistent for almost 30 years. Those 30 years, Jeffrey Epstein was running amok in the United States of America. Raping, pillaging, blackmailing, espionaging, like running amok. So my thoughts on it are, I just don't believe anymore that it's Iran wanting to do anything to Americans. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just don't believe it's true. They have their beliefs, their religions that might play some sort of role in their culture and things like that. There's different groups of people. They might say things, they might out of anger and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I just don't think they've been trying to attack the United States of America. Not like that, not directly. I think they're pretty aware what will happen. And I think a lot of places are aware of that. Indirect, maybe. But I just don't think so. And think about 9/11. You never heard Iran come in the picture one time. You never heard them come in the picture one time. You heard so many other groups come in the picture. You never heard anything about Iran coming in the picture. So I think Americans got a lot of soul searching to do. Like, need to think about what the hell we're doing seriously, because we claim to have no money for education. We claim to have no money for healthcare. But we have this kind of money. Look at this. They say 72 billion. So, God damn. U.S. military spending on war, 72 billion. Like, I think it's even more. Some people say it's more, man. In any case, you want to say something about that? I said a whole lot. I know, Mike, but as you know, this is not planned commentary. This is actual reactionary commentary. It's live. It's not fake. It's not contrived. It is what it is. But all right, so let's play some more here.
What about Americans themselves? How much do-re-mi? How much do-re-mi are we really talking about? Well, how about this? The cost of the Iran war on Americans, the gas hikes, the food, etc. We're talking, get this, about $134 billion, perhaps even more than that, and that's at a cost of $100. No, it's more than that. $1,000 per household. It's this type of stuff that really just gets me very hot and heated. So, Maury, if you would. Oh, yeah.
Let me see here. Sleechy says, have you ever covered the MK Ultra stuff. Nah, not in particularly, nah, but it's interesting. It is interesting. I appreciate that.
Limited edition Dr. Pepper creamy coconut.
Okay, they be wilding now on CNN. Do you guys see this is like corporate news? Like this is capitalistic news right here, obviously. But this is why we got reactions on it. It's not that I'm telling you to believe it. I'm even asking people to hop up. I'm telling people, look, come up here, give us your sources. If you have better data, let us know. But CNN is getting polling data that is pretty much unilaterally accepted. They don't get all of it, but it is compiled in a average way, you could say. So yeah, I think these numbers are closer to real than not.
Morning, Ron. How about tourism? Total visitors dropped by 4 million in 1 year. From 2024, it was 72.3 million. Now, look at this. Whoop! 68.3 million. 68.3 million. And you know where we've hit the hardest? It's our neighbors to the north. It's our neighbors to the north. Look, Canadian visits. Woo! Down to the St. Lawrence River. That's what we're talking about in 2025. From 2024, down to 22%. Down 22%. And it's an impact on U.S. jobs. And it's concentrated, tends to be concentrated in a few places. But look at this. Fewer Canadian visits means fewer U.S. jobs. We're talking about 14,000 to 42,000 fewer jobs. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about a real loss of jobs here. And you know what? We're talking about tourist spending. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Tourist money is free money. Tourist money is free money. Are they using your healthcare system? Are they using your education? Are they sucking up the resources? Or are they bringing their money, giving it to us?
Look at this. We're talking about less of this stuff. Less do, re, mi being spent. Less do, re, mi being spent.
I see why CNN has to resort to flashing dollars on the screen. Because if you don't do that, a lot of Americans don't fucking get it. It's the math. They won't be able to compile the math because education's not free. You know what I'm saying? If you give them data on jobs, they don't know what the fuck that means. You give them data on inflation. What does that mean? You give them data on housing, you know nothing. You give them data, but if you flash that cash in their face, you see how he had to spell this shit out? It's almost like calling Americans stupid. Look at this.
Fewer jobs. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about a real loss of jobs here. And you know what? We're talking about tourist spending. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Look at this. We're talking about less of this stuff. Less do, re, mi being spent. Less do, re, mi being spent. And by the way, I just love a $2 bill.
Oh my God. This is just, but look, you talking to Americans again. You're not talking about college educated. No, that's not MAGA. That's not who elected Trump. You're not talking about college. You're talking about just, I don't know. Who the fuck? Who talks to their public this way? You know what I'm saying? This is goddamn sad, but it's true. And guess what? CNN is right-wing media now. You better understand that. It is. Yes, they've been bought up. Now they're right-wing media. They were right-wing media that plays left. Fox is right-wing media that is just right-wing. They're not playing. It's totally right-wing brainwash. They don't even talk about data. They just fucking make up shit on Fox. They don't even claim, you know what I'm saying? Data, they don't even attempt to explain data. So CNN is a step ahead because at least they try to show you the data first. And then if you don't get it, they like, if you don't know what that means, we talking about do, re, mi, man. We talking about ones at the strip bar, bro. Now do you get it? Now we talking about money you can use at the whole house. Do you understand now? We talking about money you can use at the meth lab. Do you get it now, bro?
I love a $2 bill. I don't know if this comes across on camera, but look at this. Look at this. The Declaration of Independence sign. That's what it's all about here and a 250th anniversary. And you know what the tourist spending? Look at this. Loss in it. 8.4 billion dollars. And of course you have to add it all up. You have to add it all up. And you know what?
Yeah, we talk about real cheap strippers. Yeah, $1. We don't talk about $100, $50, $20. No.
What? All right. We're going to add it all up. I got a nice little calculator. Here we go. Yes. So we got 231 billion, 134 billion, and then 8.4 billion. And what does it come to? Well, let's take a look here. The total cost, $373 billion. $373 billion. That's between the tariffs, the Iran war, and tourism. We are talking about, get this.
That is $1 billion a day. Bleeding. The United States is bleeding. Bleeding. That's more than $1 billion a day of just pouring out. This is not healthcare. This is not any. This is just tariffs, Iran war, and the loss of tourism money. Congratulations, MAGA. Your grandkids will pay for this because you're broke, and that's how it works in the United States of America. You know, you will have to work this debt off. Okay, that means, you know, the economy, the loaning on money is going to be less. There won't be. I mean, there will be emergency funding, like we talked about this yesterday. Nixon, he gave the largest in an executive order. President Nixon, the Republican, right, the anti-Kennedy one, the anti-Democrat one, the liberal president. We talking about liberalist, you know, in terms of liberalism, right? Extremist, right? Extreme Republican version. He gave an executive order for the second biggest housing freeze, second biggest wage freeze. It might even be the first biggest wage freeze. And something else. Oh yeah, grocery store freeze, cost of goods freeze in the nation's history. It was a national one. And he did that by executive order. And look, because they had fucked up the things so much that was the only thing that was going to keep the economy afloat. If they didn't, they had to literally reorganize the management of cash flow in the United States, because they had fucked up the economy with the war so much that it was going to, you know, sink essentially. So you could pretty much guess, not just war, but, you know, neocons and all their little planning right now. You could pretty much guess that is what's going to happen again. You could guess that, because there's either two things. There's a possibility of two things. One, a lot of dead Americans, or two, a lot of socialistic policies. Nixon was a Republican, but he instituted that because the economy was going to sink. And once it sinks too far, it's over. It's not like something you can just repair like that. Like once it gets below a certain level, it's going to hit rock bottom. Then it's going to, and if you understand what rock bottom means, that is not a good thing. That means chaos, right? That means chaos. Services cut across the country, you know, instantly, right? So, but you can see where this is going. So they already know that there's only two outcomes here. A lot of socialistic policies coming out of the next Congress and next president to balance the economy, right? To balance it so it's not bleeding like this. You see, because right now Americans are being stuck with this bill, and that will bleed them, the Americans. You see, so then there's the inflation is out of control. The dollar is bleeding, right? It looks good in some kind of way technically, but it's about to crash if they don't get a hold of it, you know. Then there's going to be the amount of debt, right? We're twice up in debt. What is it, like $39 trillion now? You see what I mean? Don't quote me, but it's close to that. Right. So now we're reaching, in just this 1 year, we went from a situation where Biden is coming out. There was a chance to manage that. It was being managed. It is not the best. It wasn't managed as good as it could be. Republicans don't want socialistic policies anyway. They didn't want Biden's student debt relief. That would have helped a lot of Americans be able to buy homes. They didn't want that. They wanted those Americans still in debt for the rest of their life, so they can't get a loan to buy a home, even though they finished college. That's what Republicans chose. They chose that in the Supreme Court by knocking down a bill that was signed, that was passed in Congress by Republicans and Democrats, passed in the Senate by Republicans and Democrats, brought to Biden's desk, signed. They had a whole ceremony. Bipartisan, stood there so proud. Then when it got into the Supreme Court, 6 Republican judges shut down student debt relief. So that's how these things are connected together. It's like a domino. One thing connects to the other. So if you claim you don't care about one thing, you might be saying you don't care about a whole lot of other things that's going to be hit with that domino effect if this one thing doesn't actually happen. So it didn't happen. No student debt relief. The farmers got fucked as soon as Trump came into office. That's another burden. Farmers going bankrupt. Who do you think pays for the bankruptcy? Who does? Who pays for the bankruptcy? Anybody know? The American citizens pay for that. Doesn't matter if you're a liberal or you're a conservative or you're a maggot or you're something else. All of you independent, you all fucking pay for it. The joke is on you. Regardless of your political party, the joke is on you. This right here is on you. The joke is on you. This $373 billion loss is on your backs, all of your backs, and none of you will escape it ever, period. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to repair it so your kids will only have to carry half of the burden for you. If you're lucky. Are you lucky?
$2,784 per household. That's what we're talking about, $373 billion. Now, of course, this is just an estimate, but I believe that this gets us into the ballpark of what we're talking about. Now, yes, we're talking about green. We're talking about green. We're talking about money. But
he's trying to get it into these hard-headed motherfuckers' minds, yo. I'm telling you, damn. How do you have to break? When is this happening? But it is. The media has to adjust to get people to wake up a little bit. I mean, even me, like you normally cursing people out, calling them a bitch. That's not normal podcasting. But it has to be balanced out. We have to give you the data. And then when the trolls come in or the idiots, at some point they gotta get blasted. Because I'm not going to go down paying your debt. You know what I'm saying? My kids ain't going to go down paying for your decisions, and I'm not going to call you a bitch. Like, straight up, like, fuck that. If we got to pay this bill together, I'm sorry, somebody's got to get their ass cursed out today and tomorrow also. Especially if you're up here faking like you don't understand something bad is fucking happening. Like, this is extreme.
It's not extreme. Just about the money that that has been cost. It's not just about the bill that's coming due. What we're talking about here is places that we could be spending this money if you are not a fan of the tariffs, not a fan of the Iran war, not a fan of the loss in tourism. Here are some ideas where that money could be spent.
Yes. You see, even CNN is owned by a right winger now, and yet they're trying to get these dumb motherfuckers to wake up still. That means it's really bad. When you got what the hell is this guy's name? Nick Fuentes saying the liberals need to run, the Democrats need to run Congress. They need to have a blue wave. They need to have get a blue liberal president in there right away. When you have a right wing white supremacist who back Trump all the fucking way saying that that means it's real bad. Not regular bad. That means something is bad that they're not showing you. It's like that bad. Like that thing is there, but if you dumb, you don't see it there, but it's creeping up on you bad, and it's a monster. It's a monster.
Where could this money be spent? What it can buy, fund? Well, for $373 billion for the government, we could be talking about 2 or more years of education department funding, which, of course, the funding of the education department's been going down. Now, of course, there are plenty of Republicans who don't like the education department, so maybe they like that the funding is going down. But what about you, the average American? Well, $2,784 per household. We're talking about 3 to 4 months of food for the median household. My goodness gracious.
This is conservative news. This is conservative news. Conservative news channels are saying this now.
Now, folks, I've taken you through. This is the total cost, the total bill for the Iran war, for tourism, for tariffs. If you like what you saw, leave a comment in the comments section, and also leave.
Yeah, do me a favor. Leave a like the video. Leave a comment in the comments section after the video is done. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. We're doing this basically once a day, right? Same time, wee hours of the morning. USA, crack of the morning. Europe, we're in that time slot. We come on roughly 2:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States time, or America time, Eastern Coast, right? And at that same time would be, no, I'm sorry, 2:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. That's 8:30 in the morning EU Central European time. So do me a favor, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't clicked the like button on the video, click the like button. When you subscribe, hit the notification so you know when we're going live. But we are going live basically daily, going live with data. We're bringing strong data, and we're also bringing some strong critical analytical perspective from my contributors. You heard earlier, we had Mike from Brooklyn, who is a Democratic socialist, but more importantly, an American, knows his politics. And then we have Friars also. Those are my two main contributors right now. And Friars Friars is out there. Friar is a veteran, but he knows his politics too, and he's also engaged in politics, so he knows his civics, right? On the U.S. and he also knows his global affairs. But critical, we talking about critical people here. We're not just making up games, and we're not making up data, okay? And we're doing this because we want to save our country, and we want to help our country people get out of this goddamn wreck. Listen, I'm American born. I'm born in Washington, D.C. Both sides of my family go back to the colonial period. But as a grown-ass man, I was born in 1970, Freedmen's Hospital in D.C. Those of you from D.C. would know what Freedmen's Hospital is. You would know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Now, but as a grown-ass man in my 30s, I moved to the great country called Denmark. I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's a wonderful country. The people are wonderful, and they know something about how to treat their own. You see what I'm saying? We have something to learn from them. We have something to learn from Europeans. Do not believe the hype. You know what I mean? They've been there with us. They're our allies. They've been there a long time. But our problem is that sometimes we allow these neo fucks to control shit, right? And they trick us out of our democracy. We have half per person in the United States. We have half the parliamentary representation per person. That means if you put 100,000 people, a million people together in the United States, on average, you will have one representative in the parliament. That's the House. In Europe, automatically off the bat, that's 2 people, right? And in some states like Denmark, it's 30 times. They have 30 times more the political representation per person. So right off the bat, we're at a loss when it comes to democracy. Okay, understand that. Then we have 80, 90 million Americans that don't even vote due to disenfranchisement or something else. That doesn't happen. That's not happening anywhere else but the United States. Right off of the bat, at best, the United States, 45% of the taxes you pay, at best, go to something you can directly see, something that is working for you, your family, and your community specifically. At best, 45% of the taxes you pay. I'm talking about when you add them all up together. As soon as you leave the United States of America and go to any other Western country, that number jumps up to 60 goddamn percent. 60% of the taxes they pay, they can feel in their home, on their street, in their community. That makes a difference in your quality of life. You know, then on top of it, they have universal health care and universal education, and they're all capitalistic nations. Why are we last? Americans got to wake up, yo. We have to wake up. We have to stand up. We have to stand up. And if you're a person who voted for Trump and you're a Republican, I'm representing you too with this data. This is the damn data that they're supposed to be telling you too, because this is the factual data. Fuck if you don't like it. You could be against universal health care, but you should at least know who else has it. You could be against more of your taxes coming to your community, into your family, but you could at least know the data. They're not telling you the data. If you don't know the data, you can't even make a responsible choice. What kind of man is that? What kind of woman is that? You better think about that. That don't got nothing to do with your political party. But what kind of man can make a decision for his family when he don't even know the data? What kind of woman can make a decision for her family when she don't even have the data? What kind of country, what kind of government doesn't even care if their people don't have the data? So it's something to think about. Let me look at the clock right now. It's 3 hours. Okay, 15 minutes. Listen, I'm going to flip the script and then I'm going to go out and I want people to listen to this. I was a little slow because I had my plumber come today to make some changes. Washing machine, needed a new washing machine, needed to have that. You know what I'm saying? It's very important, you know, when you have kids and everything. So that happened. Thank God. Yes. Not that much. It costs a little bit, but it's not that much. I mean, but it's a necessity. It's an expense. You got to do it. Because I don't have time to be running around doing something else somewhere else. I got to have it in the house. So I got kids and everything. And my time is really valuable. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to go out on this one and something profound now. In the last election cycle, you know, that we had this issue. There was a lot of people that said, and it's true, did not vote for the Democratic Party or did not vote for Kamala Harris because they didn't feel like she spoke up enough about the Palestinian issues. You know, I have my own take on that. My take then was that it's still pretty much the same now. My take then is that you never had a vice president that ran for office. And if you do have that, you never had a vice president that's running for office that's going to talk against the current sitting president's policy. That's just unreasonable to expect as a voter. But of course, people wanted that out of Kamala Harris. And as a voter, you have every right to make that decision for yourself. I respect that. You know what I mean? But the problem is that I really believe that she wanted to do something different. And I believe that. I believe the first woman president would do something different. Give it a chance, at least. We deserve, America has never had one woman president before. We deserve the chance to see what it could look like. We took a risk with Jeffrey Epstein's fucking best friend. Jeffrey Epstein's best friend got more of a chance than Kamala Harris. And I'm not saying she should run this time, and I'm not saying vote for her. I'm just saying the reality is, goddamn, you sure know how to give fucking the wrong people a fucking chance. Like, that can never fucking happen again. You can't fix problems that way. Like, understand, the next time you get a clear choice, and you did have one, please spare us of a fucking Trump or anyone related to him. And anyone that was on Epstein Island and anyone that communicated, just stop. Now that I said that, Ta-Nehisi Coates was one of the people that spoke about, and I respect him a lot, you know, no doubt about it. I mean, come on, you can disagree with people sometimes and still have an immense amount of respect for the man. He is a man that's my age. He is commanding respect. He is deserving, and even more than commanding, he's deserving of the respect. You know what I'm saying? But he has some words to say right about now, and I think people should listen to those words. So let's see what Ta-Nehisi has to say. I heard a little
Coates.
part of Coates, but it was only like maybe 3 minutes recently. I saw a couple of clips, so I want to hear what else he had to say. So let's do that. And I appreciate everybody for coming out. And please, again, click the like button, click the subscribe button. And yeah, it's been a good run, and let's keep it growing. Let's let the audience grow. Share the videos. Let's get more people in here. If you've been listening, even if you were an asshole, even if you disagree, yo, check this out. Why are you here? It's because there's something here that you like. Let other people like you know I'm here. Come on, get your group over here. Make your group strong up in the chat. Make your group felt. Make your group understand. But goddamn it, understand one thing. If you don't hop up and you don't have no better data, people going to know it. And people going to treat you like that. So, but in any case, feel free to disagree. But come on, let's add something new. And of course, I've had that experience. Well, you've seen me. I've actually had a disagreement with Friars, and I just mentioned what the disagreement was. It was about how some people responded over the last election. We had that disagreement. We spelled it out. But look, we stronger than ever. That one little thing actually kind of turned, allowed me and Friars to move further and be stronger, like seriously. No joke about it. And it also allowed a lot of us, also Sterling, what's up, Sterling? If you out there, big up to you too, because we had some disagreements. People saw it live here, but guess what? How you respond later means a lot. I responded like a man, and I admitted what I didn't like, how I think I wasn't actually correct with my reasoning, you could say. You see what I'm saying? So, and then, it's not about being wrong. It's just about, are you as good as you could be? You see what I'm saying? Sometimes it takes that interaction to make people better. So I appreciate that. And so let's move on. Let's hear what Ta-Nehisi Coates has to say here.
Rips into a centrist about, socialism. Here it is.
I don't think that the congressional Democrats should seat her as a member of the Democratic Party. You can't kick out of Congress. She was voted, but she doesn't have to be in a Democratic caucus. I don't have anything in common with Ms. Chevalier, and I really don't want to be in the same party she's in.
Your reaction to that, Ta-Nehisi?
Wow. You do this to me every time I come on an interview. Say something that leaves me completely speechless. Because look, the problem with that is, look, whatever you think of future Congresswoman Chevalier, she represents actual voters. Okay, she represents actual voters. And what James Carville is saying is that those voters should be disenfranchised. That he is so disgusted with whatever opinion she has that those voters should be disenfranchised. And I don't get it, man. That is a district filled with black and brown people. They made their choice and he just doesn't respect it. You know what I mean? Which to me says, not so much, it's not so much a statement on Palestinians. It's not so much a statement on Israelis. It's not so much a statement on, anything that future Congresswoman Chevalier has said. It's a statement on how he feels about black and brown people. And the fact that they are useful to him on, anything that future Congresswoman Chevalier has said. It's a statement on how he feels about black and brown people. And the fact that, it's a statement about how he feels about democracy. Just what democracy is it? But I do understand him hyphenating that, because it's important because we're minorities, and if not minorities, we are not in top position. We are on the part of the bottom class, right? So it's important, and we lack representation. Just all Americans lack parliamentary representation, no matter what class you are. So, it's important. It's important to get that. What Carville said, it's anti-American, it's anti-democratic. And if you believe in the United States as a democratic country, then it's also
anti-American. You know, that's
they
my
are
view.
useful to him when they vote the way that he agrees with. When they don't, kick them out the party. They don't deserve representation.
Yeah. Why are we still putting James Carville on TV? Why are we doing this? He is irrelevant, out of touch. His true colors, no pun intended, shine through more and more every interview or debate or commentary he provides. Now, yeah, he don't like Trump. Okay. Big deal. People who voted for Trump and work for Trump don't like Trump. That's easy. But his articulation of political policy is rooted in a very white male-dominated moderate point of view while calling himself, well, liberal. Now, he's a latte liberal, is what he is. Put it in full mass. James Carville urged Democratic lawmakers to shun the new Democratic Socialists entering Congress, with the longtime liberal strategist saying the socialists have bogus ideas that will torpedo the party's chances with average American voters. The New York primary election saw a slate of progressive candidates win key Democratic races, continuing the trend of leftist candidates.
And you know, and it's important to hyphenate this. You know, people in the United States, what they call socialist, right? What they're afraid of is European policies in the United States of America. European social policy. Everyday standard European social policy. They're calling that communism. They're calling that socialism. They're calling capitalistic nations with universal health care and universal education communist. They're literally calling that socialist, right? And they're neglecting to tell their actual the citizens of the country that these are capitalistic countries that have these policies. They have open capitalism, free trade. You buy, you sell things for whatever you set the price to be. That's your business. As long as you follow the workers' rights rules of engagement and you follow the tax policy, it's perfectly fine. You can sell shit for whatever you want. You see what I mean? And Europeans buy shit from all over the world and sell it. You can still get shit from China here. What the hell? How are you calling it communist? And you, you know, it's crazy. You could buy things from anyone. It's just open capitalism. That's what open capitalism is. You can buy anything from anybody, pretty much, from around the world, as long as it fits certain. As long as it, let's say you buy a toy. Is the toy made out of materials that contaminate the blood or poison the blood? Then no. So as long as the safety standards are there, it's fine. And as long as as long as it's not made with slave labor, right? Outright slave labor, it's fine, right? But again, that engine, that capitalistic engine in Europe, is used when it comes to the policy of education and the policy of healthcare. They make sure that everyone is accessible to it. That's all. And even the healthcare system has private companies inside of it. It's not like it's all government run. No, government managed in terms of the administration side of it. Like, for example, in the United States, if you go to the hospital, 30% of your bill will be administrative fees. If you go to the hospital in Europe, you know, between 5% and 10% will be your administrative fees. That brings the cost down. Then there's regulation on how much you can make on a, let's say, for an example, in hospital terms, a syringe. How much can you price? Can you price the syringe up to 100 times what it costs you to make, or do you keep it at 20 in a hospital? What do you think a good idea is? Should the company that's providing the healthcare be allowed to make it 100 times more costly than what it costs you? Or is 20 times enough to make it capitalist? That's the only difference. That's why healthcare is cheaper in Europe. That's why education is cheaper. Same education, just cheaper. They're not ripping off motherfuckers. You know, do you think education is supposed to be sold to you like a goddamn Lamborghini? Is that what it is? You mean you need the Lamborghini of engineering school to go to? Is that what you need? Or can you just use the Chevrolet version of engineering school? I mean, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Yo, seriously, like the cost of you becoming a doctor, it's not really going, it shouldn't have, if you have good education standards in your country, period, the cost shouldn't make it better. Same one you get from one that costs you $40,000 should be just as good as the one that costs $2 million. It should be just as good if you coming out of that school and now you're a doctor. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I'm speaking generally. So keep that in mind when they're calling these people socialists. They just want you to have the average Western lifestyle, the average experience in the Western world that everyone else enjoys. But us Americans are told we can't have every day of the week, or we're told we're communists. That's it. We're not asking for socialism, really. We're not asking for socialism. We're asking for social policy in a capitalistic country that loves its people. That's all.
And political outsiders performing strongly against more centrist and established Democratic candidates. Put up the former Democratic National Committee Chair, Jamie Harrison. I've interviewed Jamie Harrison over the course of a few years on my radio program. He posted a dissertation on X last Tuesday evening, displaying his disgust with the situation. Quote, I say this with no ill will or animosity. If you hate the Democratic Party, then please don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers.
You know, it's so funny because it's like they are triggered by someone literally saying everyone else in the Western world has, every other capitalistic country in the Western world has universal education. Every other capitalistic country in the world has universal health care. They're triggered by that so much that they're calling these people socialists and communists. They're calling them communists. They call themselves democratic socialists. Okay, which you need to ask them what they mean when they say that. But they're so triggered, Republicans and maggots, that they're calling them communist.
Use our infrastructure. Don't ask Democrats to invest their time, money, and energy in your campaign. Focus on building the party you actually support. Political parties aren't perfect, but they're built by millions of people who knock on doors, make calls, organize meetings, and fight for the values they believe in. If you don't,
that's exactly how Mondami won. They knocked on doors for values they believe, that they got elected, and these people are tripping out over it. You know, they couldn't. It's the same way they tripped out over Barack Obama, man. What did Barack Obama even do? Did he turn it into a communist socialist country? No, not if you listen to any maggots. He didn't, because they always say the cost went up. Yeah, he allowed the health companies to make more money. That's what Obama did. So is that socialism? No, that's capitalism. So, but they reacted the same way to Obama. And now you have someone that has different policies, just happens to have a different religion. Look at how they react. Look at how they react. Same damn thing, same damn way. Different policies, same damn reaction.
Don't believe in the party. They don't ask its members to carry you across the finish line. There's more. And let me be clear, he says. I don't care if you're progressive, moderate, or conservative. I've worked with Democrats across the ideological spectrum. We didn't always agree, but we understood that building a stronger Democratic Party was part of the job. And if you hate the party, spend your days attacking it and have contempt for all the people who make it possible, then see above.
All right. So I see someone in the chat doesn't know the world that they live in. So I'm going to let them know. They asked, what Let me see. What is this? What did they ask? Let me make sure I got this right. Which country country is capitalist? What country is capitalist? So here, I'm just gonna here. These are the capitalistic countries that have universal health care. Very simple. Let's make it a complete statement, right? Here we go. In these countries, health care is primarily funded by the government through tax revenue. Hospitals and clinics may be publicly owned, and doctors are often government employees or paid fixed governments, right? So here, Western generally refers to a shared geopolitical and economic framework. These nations are grouped below by the region-specific type healthcare system, okay? You see? Capitalistic. Nearly every major developed Western nation operating under a capitalistic economic system provides universal health care, with the exception of the United States of America. That is a fact that you need to know because it is a fact. And if you don't know it, you are way off base with a whole lot of other shit that comes out of your mouth after that. So here we go. Who else? Which capitalistic nations in the West have universal health care? United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Finland, right? New Zealand, Australia, okay? Germany, France, Belgium, Austria, okay? Netherlands, Switzerland, okay? Canada, okay? So again, there's more, but even, they all have it. I might have missed a couple. The United Kingdom is a few countries put together anyway. So that's part of it. All means all. All means all. Ain't nothing new. The data's been out there for a generation now. If you haven't heard it, it's because you're watching the wrong political news program or something. I can't understand why you don't know that. But the data's available. Anyone that doesn't know it, it's either you never bothered to look it up yourself, or you believe someone else who told you a lie and you never bothered to look it up yourself. I mean, yeah, I don't know. What else can I say?
Put his picture back up. I remember the first time I interviewed this brother. When he's in queue, we're talking to his communications person. This is before we go live on air. And his communications person says, Dr. Ritchie,
look, now this person says they're government controlled, not capitalistic. I said capitalistic nations. Those are capitalistic. Their economic money, how they make their money, how they trade their goods is capitalistic. They are Western capitalistic societies, just like the United States of America. Do you know that the United States of America has socialistic programs too? You didn't know that? I don't know why you don't know that. If you don't know that, then it's because you've either been watching the wrong media who's been lying to you, or you never bothered to look it up yourself. The military is one of the biggest socialist projects in the world, the U.S. military. Yeah, you don't get paid by performance. You get paid by rank and file, okay? Just to cut the bottom, just a standard salary, rank and file. One dude standing to the right of you could probably run faster than the dude standing to the left. He gets paid the same. One dude to the right of you probably saved more lives, didn't get a goddamn bonus for it, okay? That's what it is. And there's more examples of that. So listen, again, if you don't notice, it's because you never bothered to look it up yourself, or you listened and believed someone who lied to you. That's all it is. Now, you can continue and stay oblivious if you want. I understand some people are always going to be oblivious, but all Western countries are capitalistic countries, all including the United States of America. All Western countries have socialistic programs in effect. What makes the United States different is that it doesn't do that when it comes to healthcare and education. That's all. That's all. That's just a fact.
Just stay away from asking about reparations. Yeah, brother, I'm telling on you. He says, stay away from asking about reparations. Now, at this point, Senator Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, they co-sponsored a reparations study bill in the Senate that actually had gained traction. So this is squarely a Democratic agenda, okay? But that was the one thing I was told to stay away from while interviewing this black man who's head of the DNC. So when we go live, the first question I asked him was about reparations. And you saw stutter as if he had no idea how to answer the question. But he did not disagree, push back. He just didn't want to be in that position to have to answer the question. Why? Because he's afraid of what white people will think of him. That's why. And this whole dynamic here, he's kissing up to James Carville and other, I guess, unenlightened Democrats. Here's your problem with all of this. First of all, brother, it's not your party. It's a company. The Democratic Party is a company. The Republican Party is a company.
I mean, and on top of it, I'm a member of the Democratic Party. You know, I don't know where he's going with the rest of this, but I just wanted people to check out what Ta-Nehisi Coates had said, right, in reference to it, because I liked his view of that, right? But I'm a member of the Democratic Party. It's a lot of people that are members of the Democratic Party that agree with a lot of the things the Democratic Socialists are saying. Why? Because the issue and debate about healthcare is not new in the Democratic Party. That's something the Democrat Party is filled of. People that believe we should have universal healthcare or at least everyone should be covered. Very simple. Call it whatever you want to call it. Everyone should be covered, and you figure out the details after. Call it whatever you want. Manage it however you want. Even in Europe, listen, even in Denmark, it's not all government. Part of it is government. Part of it is private. I work for a private healthcare company. You see, myself, but I live in Denmark. You see? So there it is. But the administration, you know, how the money is spent, the government is looking at it and saying, this is what the actual cost should be more like. It has to fit in with this realm, and then we will let the rest of you compete to provide the service. Why? Because the government has experts in this field that aren't there to talk about what capitalism is, aren't there to talk about what socialism is. They're only there to make sure the system works for the people. That's all. No bias involved. That's it. That's the government's job. That's why you pay taxes. See, all kinds of people pay taxes. So when you have a lot of parliamentary representation, you get that out of your government. When you have as little as the United States of American people have, which is half of what Europeans have at best, and when it comes to comparing them against Denmark, they have 30 times, maybe 40 times less parliamentary representation per person. That's the difference in the outcome. Representation with your taxation versus very little tiny representation with your taxation. That is what we're talking about. That's the topic. Some of that's going to go over some people's heads, but stay around. You'll get it after a while.
That company has a board of directors. It has a charter. It has a functional corporate constitution. The people who vote for the politicians or the public officials, they're not voting for a party. They're voting for values that sometimes the party may express and the candidates express as well. But you made a big mistake, Jamie, by saying, well, don't use our resources. What resources? You talking about the people? Don't use.
Exactly. They're talking about the resources, but the resource are the people, and they use our number. Even if you don't donate to the Democratic Party, just the fact that you're registered as a Democrat, they use that to their advantage. They can say, hey, look at how many people support our party. That's what they do, and that's what they will do. You know, so in any case, I'm going to close out. This is the last little thing I wanted to play. It's important, and I appreciate everybody again. I will see you all. This is CBS. By the way, this is CBS News, but it's interesting what they're throwing up here too. Again, I don't trust legacy media, which is why I come with my own data, and I also come with my reactions towards it and pushback live for my audience to witness every day of the week. Give myself a round of applause. I'm also seeing the news. This is how I keep up with the daily news, y'all. thanks for joining me on that. It makes it a little more fun. You know what I'm saying? A little more
Thank you,
enjoyable.
thank you,
Yeah,
thank
yeah. There you go, Mike. You back? What's up? Yeah, yeah. I'm having my latte. You know what I'm saying? Enjoying my latte, my morning latte with my regular morning latte with my day, getting my day started, and I'm watching my news, bro. Can't do better than that, huh?
It sounds like a very American thing to do. I like that for you.
Well, I hope everybody can do that, man. I'm happy. I am American, although I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I'm blessed to be able to do that day after day, bro. So I appreciate the small things I have, and I appreciate the blessings wherever I have them. But I'm gonna fall out on this one. You want to say anything before I let this one fall out? I got to be out in like 5 minutes, so I want to just run this down.
No, not necessarily. We encourage individuals to call up if you have opposing views, and even if you have if you're in lockstep with a lot of things, we say a cover here. We encourage to hear from the viewers, right? Even if it's just for a bit to give your perspective or reinforce your perspective in terms of what we cover. Please, it's been great hearing a lot of the individuals who do come up to contribute. Unfortunately, we haven't had anyone with a MAGA mindset or conservative values just hop on and kind of give us
MAGAs aren't that confident, bro. MAGAs aren't that confident on the fly. That's what I take out of it. They don't seem to be so agile and because when you hop up here, you get put on the spot. Even me too. Shit, we put each other on the spot. And I think the MAGA people, they don't like that because maybe they don't feel like they can handle it.
Yeah. No, they definitely can't, right? And they can't respond to facts with just what they believe, right? Because they don't have those facts to back it. And if they would, they'd place it in the chat. They'd place it in the chat. They'd be anxious and overwhelmingly happy to kind of prove us wrong. Versus just using ad homs and other attacks.
Yeah, you would think they would be, but they were not.
Yeah. But thank you guys for another live, another opportunity to just do what we do, right? And thank you, B.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you. Thank you too. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Big up to New York, Brooklyn. Also, Brooklyn. What's up, man? Shit, that was like my second home. Straight up, Brooklyn, Washington Park. Fulton Avenue, DeKalb actually Avenue also.
Hey.
No bullshit. Yeah, no bullshit. I love New York, man, especially when you have a pretty good, solid introduction, but Brooklyn back in the 90s, boy, woo, very, very good people, man, warm people, kind people, groovy people, and it's just nothing like New York when it comes to the arts, man. The arts community, hella progressive, bro. Hella progressive, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of beauty in that part of town. So big up to Brooklyn. I'm not surprised you found my channel too, man. Because hey, I love Brooklyn, man, no doubt. Not far from Marcy Projects, just over Washington Park's right across from Marcy Projects, right?
Yeah, it's not far.
Fort Greene. Fort Greene. Fort Greene. Yeah, it's
that's
right across.
next door.
Yeah, that's right next door. And then Marcy's up the road. Right. Exactly. Now, listen, I will be back 18 hours morning special, late night. What do we call it? Early late night special programming. Same time, same bat channel. If you don't know what it is V Media. That's VMEEDIA. That's like a extra E to emphasize me. It's a joke on capitalism, V me dia. It's true. It's true. It's a stupid joke. It's a stupid joke, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, man? It is crazy. Me. But But in any case, we'll be back. It's not all about me, you know what I'm saying? Because I know how to be a team player, bro. I'm a team player. Anybody that knows me knows I'm best at being a team player. You know what I mean? But when you got to step up, sometimes team players also got to know how to take the lead. Sometimes, right? That's what a team player is like. What do they call that? A relay race, bro. Got to be able to hit that
definitely.
lap. Yeah, got to be able to hit that lap and get it done. Now, so I appreciate everybody. I'm going to let this play out. It's some interesting information here. I thought it would be useful for people that support Republicans, people that support Democrats and independents. You know, CBS is owned by a right winger. Like, you know that. Trump basically made somebody an example to get them to fall in line. But this is still the United States of America. There's still some things we have to do until we're totally authoritarian. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, we're creeping on. It's there. It's some shit is fucked up. It's totally corrupt. But you know, nonetheless, it's interesting to hear what even a station that got bullied by Trump has to say about the American public. So on that, peace out, everybody. I'll be back with you all soon. Peace. Let's let it run.
There is a new poll out that shows Americans agree on far more than we think. I don't think I'm surprised about that. Some of those things include decisions on immigration, reproductive rights, health care, and Social Security. Director of the Program for Public Consultation for the University of Maryland and political psychologist Dr. Stephen Call joins us right now for much more. Dr. Call, thank you for your time. So no matter people's
Yeah, and big up to you, Melody. I appreciate that. I saw that. Appreciate you.
political party, your numbers show that America is far less divided. Why is that?
Yeah, there's far more common ground among the American people than there is in Congress. There are all kinds of proposals in Congress that are just sitting there dormant that we tested in a large national sample with 3,700 respondents overall. And when people start really looking at the issues, there's quite a lot that they agree about. It's not so surprising. We're all Americans. We all share common interests. So, but they need to get down to the specifics. When we get to the specifics, there's a lot there that we can come together on.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially when you're having a conversation as opposed to just being on social media where you're in your own corner against someone else. So besides immigration, reproductive rights, and also Social Security, what other things do Americans agree on?
Well, for example, there's a proposal for putting a cap on drug prices so that nobody can charge the prices that are higher than what they charge elsewhere in the world, which would bring them down quite a lot. And you get overwhelming majorities in favor of that proposal. There's the problem of dealing with the Social Security shortfall. And there are a whole series of proposals that Americans support. The one that gets the biggest support is to subject the income over $400,000 to the Social Security tax. And that would solve a lot of the Social Security shortfall. As you know, within not very many years now, there will be a significant reduction in Social Security benefits unless there is a real change. There's also support for modest increases in the payroll tax, an increase in the age, retirement age, and also some decrease in benefits to high earners. And you put all that together, the problem is solved. And you hear, politicians saying, "Oh no, it's a third rail. You can't solve it. It's too political. People don't want to deal with it." But if you just put the options in front of people and say how much it buys them for each one, large bipartisan majorities support the key ones that will bring that would really solve the problem.
Yeah, sounds like things are really not as difficult as our lawmakers make them out to be. We talked about all of these numbers. Is this what the Common Ground in the Battlegrounds initiative is all about?
Yes, that's right. We're going to be actually looking around all over the country and in battleground states and districts to see, well, we find that nationally. Is it true in all these states and districts as well? In this last one, we found 112 common ground positions, and we'll be testing over 100 of them in all of these states and districts. And I might add too that 88 of them, more than 2/3 of both Republicans and Democrats agree. So it's not just bare majorities in most cases.
Oh yeah, a very, very important topic and conversation to have, especially as America celebrates its 250th birthday. Dr. Call, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so there has been a lot of stuff in the headlines this week, from Donald Trump's loss at the Supreme Court over mail-in ballots to the moment progressives are having right now ahead of the midterm elections, and to Iran. and who might become the president's fall guy if negotiations fall apart. I made a pit stop this week at Union Market in Washington, D.C. to ask for your predictions on all of the above, and as always, you did not disappoint.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack, and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Children dying. What about the children crying? No.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? No.
Yeah. Digging, scratching, working, struggling, hoping. Some is hustling, every man hustling, stay alive, that's the game. It don't matter if another gets slain. Pain, recession, other cats want a war, we got the weapon. People want bombs, so they gon' get them. This is the rhythm, the politics ticking. It's sad how we living in this life. It's gonna be a time that we change. Shit is not finite, life is the same. Motherfuckers killing each other to make a claim. Stop that bullshit, you have no respect for each other. You know the truth, you come from your mother, your sister, your brother. So love one another. If we make that change, the whole world will do the same. So listen.
Oh, it is one love. Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? No, no, no.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah, I wish someone would tell me when is the suffering gonna stop. I see time ticking, fuck your watch. There comes a time when man steps to the plate, but it won't matter if your mentality is fake. Where I'm from, we got a system, overcrowded prisons, 2 cents an hour, man. Listen, shit don't change if we keep exploiting each other. One day you find out you only did it to your brother. A homeless mother, a baby, no supper. She got a husband and father, they both love her, but they can't find work cause the people with the power, they got a strange way to govern. Their price tag say nothing. Life is funny, then again it's really not. People dying for what other people got. I asked God if he can come and change the shit. He said, hell no, it's you that's gotta change, bitch.
Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? One.
I traveled the globe just to gain perspective. The theory of relativity applied. Of course, it took a while to decide how I should proceed, but even my life is truly based upon need. So I move forward with more deliberate speed. Smash corny motherfuckers that stuck on greed. My seed is worth more than $1 million in future stock. The goal is to break the safe, the padlock. Mad cats can't stop it, need a rocket. Your style is boring and cold, mine is tropic. Battles you want, commit, you'll change the topic. My partner should get to put your beat in the pocket. So this nigga here can proceed to destroy your stereotypical pop rap gangsta ploy. Not hating on niggas from the ghetto, but I'm hating on copycat rappers from the meadow. They procreate bullshit without paying a price. That's like talking about CeeLo with no dice. I drink milk, but that's about it. I won't compare dairy MCs to dope shit. I want you full undivided in this here place. We pick to entertain and to educate. Your bum ass niggas and your non-believers. You know we change your membrane every time you see us. The odds can't stand the way we make away ease. The way we get love from the finest ladies. Oh my son, oh here goes another one.